Good evening, folks, and welcome to another Hobby Hangout. Hope everybody is well. Hope you've had a lovely day. Hope you've had a nice time since Monday, since we last spoke. I'm going to switch across straight to the painting stream today because we have a special guest with us this evening. So we've got Al from Krabby Vision on Instagram. So hello, Al. How are you doing, mate?
Hello, mate. How are you?
I'm not too bad, thank you very much. So, folks, this is the first time I've kind of set the stream up like this. So please do let me know in the chat. Can you hear Al nice and loud? Is his sound okay? Can everybody hear him and stuff? Let me know. I was just sitting there, Phil's waiting to watch the adverts. Thanks, Phil.
Oh.
I had to skip across it for my own adverts there. So yeah, I think everything looks to be all right. Scott's saying both's okay. That sounds good. We can just crack on them, mate. So, Al, what you painting tonight, mate? Tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm painting Surprise, some Raven Guard. I know everyone sort of sees us painting Raven Guard quite a lot. I try and paint some different stuff. So today I'm painting these guys. I'll hold them up to my camera. So they're just infiltrators with a bit of a camo pattern on. I'm going to do some lenses and just plod on with them.
And just plod on it. And tonight, for a bit of a change of pace, I'm going to paint Hellboy from Hellboy, the board game, obviously. But yeah, it's the first model from the game I've painted. I decided to dive straight in and let's go in with Hellboy. I've got some frog monsters all primed as well, just in case I need to kind of let this one dry off. But on the last stream I did, I kind of was batch painting, and I guess that's not too much fun if anybody watching it back. So yeah, I'm going to try and go through and try and.
Hey, that's a cool model, that as well, mate.
Yeah, it's a nice sculpt. I had to clean a couple of mould lines of it, but for like a board game piece, it's pretty good. And I also want to say as well that Christian, very kindly in the chat tonight, hello Christian, sent me one of these red grass holders after I'd been talking about them last painting stream.
Oh, nice.
So I'm going to give that a try tonight as well. So we'll have a paint, we'll have a review of the red grass holder as well.
Yeah, I'm using the classic cork.
To be honest, that's my normal. That's what I've normally got, to be fair. So, and I have got one of them GW ones, but I kind of get away with them. I always find them a little bit.
Has that got a little spinny top on that one then?
Well, these bits screw off, so that bit like screws off completely. And what I found the best use for them is you can screw them on the bottom of the camera and just and use them for holding the camera as well. But
does the red grass one spin around at the top as well?
Sorry. So this one doesn't spin around. You have got to physically turn it in your hand. But the red grass one that spins on there. So it means while you're holding it in a nice comfy position, you can just kind of spin it as you paint.
That's cool.
So let's have a look in the chat, see who we've got in tonight, because we've got a few folks in. We had Dirk in nice and early at like 6:30. I think there was a few people in earlier on saying that they still had 5 hours to wait. So that was nice and early. Peter Nicholas was early as well. Phil Wilkinson, nice to see you, mate. I'll just, you even had a little bit chat there, giving some people some tips on painting flesh.
Yeah, I'm always early.
Christian's in as well. Hello, Christian. How you doing, fella? Are you painting anything tonight, mate? Have you got anything on the table, or are you just chilling? We've got Tony in, says evening all. Hello, Tony. Terry Bass was in as well, saying he couldn't stop tonight. It's his anniversary. He says we've got a broom handle each for distance, and I'll bash it over the head with it 6 feet away. And he's going to try and join a bit later. Thank you, buddy. We've got Deep Red in. Hello, Deep Red, says all hail #1. This is because I only today put 2 and 2 together and realised that the lad in our Facebook group was the same person. So there you go. Nice to see you, mate. Steve Evans is in as well, saying how's everyone doing. Palmsy's in, saying he'll be lurking tonight, but he's hit the like button, so his work here is done. Thanks, mate. We got Barry Kleiber, he just tuned in as well. Barry all the way from the Chicago area. Nice to see you, Barry. Deep Red's painting some Dark Elf artillery. Peter's having a bit of a chat there. We've got Peter Mack in as well. Nice to see you, mate. Claudio's in as well. Scott Longworth saying, you still on your days off, Scott, did you say? Scott works for the same company that I work for as well. So he works in the factory up in Prudhoe, and where I started originally. So yeah, we both work for the same company. Edward Pickens in as well. Who else we got? Millennium Falcon, nice to see you, Barry, mate. I hope you're well too. Where else we are? Just jump off the top of my screen now with a chart. Barry's in Hellboy, nice. Jim Zorn's in. Nice to see you, James. Tim's in as well, finishing his Warcry scenery. Scott said he's been painting his supermarket for Walking Dead. If anybody hasn't seen that on the Facebook group, please go in and have a look at it. Scott is
it's
absolutely
pretty cool.
smashing through that. I can't believe he's only had it a few days and it's nearly finished. I think
really?
he's been 3D printing some bits for it as well, like some bits like internal scenery and that, which looks pretty cool. Richard Smith's in as well. VJ's in. Yeah, he's just saying the GW handle is the standard camera mount. Yeah, I think I've used it for holding the camera more times than I've painted with it, to be fair. Tom the Bomb's in. We've got Fat Cat. He says hello and goodbye. Nice to almost catch a live show, but he's off to do a night shift in the pharmacy. Stay safe to you too, mate. Take care. Tony Booth Leiden in. He says he's going to just try to dip his brush into his iPad screen. That's not a good move, mate. Don't do that. I bet what I won't do then is I won't leave a pot of paint there for you, mate, just in case you get confused. Craig McCartney's in as well, doing a bit of Abyssal stuff. Mark Berraclough is in as well. He said he's not sleeping, he's here, but he's reading his Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, so he's just got the Essentials kit got delivered today, so he's having a look through that one. John Estel's in as well, painting some of his War Elementals for Kings of War. John Kellogg's in, painting some Dust 1947. What else we got? Have I missed any names? John France. Spectre's in as well. Says, just popping in to show support. Peter N sent me. Hello, thank you very much. Appreciate that, buddy. And where are we at? Christian said he's watching. Right, I think we'll just crack on. I'm just going to get the paints out. So we might as well, while we're waiting for the chat to kind of to dive in full of questions and bits and pieces. Well, you as well, mate, because they all know my rubbish stories. They want to hear yours tonight.
I don't think anyone wants to hear my rubbish stories. I'll tell them the best ones I've got.
We'll save them ones, mate, till we run out of steam.
Yeah.
So you're painting Raven Guard at the minute. How long you been in the hobby? How long you been into 40k? How long you been painting Marines? All that kind of good stuff.
So I guess like the first time I was exposed to the hobby would have been when I was really young, and it wasn't the hobby in like a 40k sense. It was the hobby in tanks and aeroplanes sense.
Yeah.
So I think my granda, like most of my family are military or ex-military. My granda was a pilot in World War II, and he flew Lancaster bombers.
Right.
So I was always obsessed with like airplanes and stuff like that. Spitfires, I think, probably one of the most beautiful pieces of machinery ever to be created by man.
I was just Spitfires yesterday.
Yeah, I just had like an obsession with them when I was a kid. Like, just loved them. He used to sit us on his knee and sort of tell us all the stories and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
It was just really cool. So that was kind of the first time I was exposed to building models. Was then, I guess. Yeah. I would have probably been about 8 or something, I guess, or 9 maybe. But it kind of never went anywhere from there. It was just it was what it was, and every now and again I'd get a model kit, and it would be a tank or an aeroplane, and my dad would hang them from the ceiling with catgut. And every now and again they'd get taken down and dusted by my mum, and that was probably about the extent of it for a good while. And then I think my first exposure to the 40k universe, I think I was about 13, 14ish. It was when, I'll be able to work it out if I look into it, but it was when Tau were released, because I remember it being a really big deal. So somebody might know when that was, but whenever Tau was released, that was kind of, a friend of mine got a board, I think 2nd edition or something, or whatever it was, and he had that in his house, and he had the Space Marines and the Orcs, whatever was in that box set. And then the shop was kind of the first thing I'd seen, was the one in Sunderland, bizarrely. That's just reopened not so long ago.
Has that been closed? For
it closed for a good while.
Is that the one that's down the side street? Like down the side of McDonald's?
Yeah, that exact one, mate. I went in it the other month before Christmas there, just to have a bit of a look around, and I'd asked the lad, and he says, "Oh yeah, it was shut for a good amount of time. The building was unoccupied, but they closed it. It was a bit weird, but yeah." So that shop was kind of my first sort of sight into the business, into the sort of the universe of 40k. Would you call it that? And that whole sort of separation of what it could be. So I think I picked up a couple of models then. I know I had an Eldar model. I think it was one of them ones that they just gave you for free when you were in the shop, sort of scenario.
Your first hit's free, yeah? Come
Yeah,
and buy some more.
Jesus, Um, so I know I had that. I know we kind of played a couple of times with his Marines and Orcs, but it was more of a sort of Cowboys and Indians crack than anything else.
Yeah.
I don't think we bothered with any sort of rules or anything like that.
I still don't, mate, to be fair.
No, you and me
It's
both. I wish I
make them up
didn't,
as
to be honest.
I go along.
But yeah, so we like that was kind of that, and then obviously you get a bit older, I got sort of 14, 15-year-old, and you kind of you realise that girls exist, and the standard sort of hobby journey, I guess, didn't bother. So I didn't paint any level. I didn't take any time painting or anything like that. It was just kind of I just liked the lore, so I've always read the books. I mean, I think that's probably the thing that's never really stopped. So ever since then, I've always read the books.
All right.
So I've kind of always been into the lore because I love science fiction anyway. So like I'm big into that sort of thing, and I love comic books when I was a kid. They kind of always been part of kind of my life, Star Wars and Star Trek and stuff like that. So I'd always read the books. I read pretty much everything they were putting out at one point. And then I tried to get back into it in my mid-20s. So I think I bought a couple of models and a couple of boxes of models and didn't really enjoy it.
Yeah.
I just didn't have time for it, mate, to be honest. I was working really hard.
Social life and everything
Yeah,
else.
yeah, it was just work was like really full on. And I actually bought a Lord of the Rings starter set.
All right.
I painted a load of them, but just couldn't get it off the floor. I wasn't really that interested in it. And I think that was probably the issue, was that I bought the Lord of the Rings stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
Were you ever into fantasy and stuff when you were back then? You know, was it just the Lord of the Rings movies that had attracted you?
no, I think it was the movies, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
But don't get us wrong, like I love the fantasy stuff.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, if I had like an unlimited supply of money, I'd probably have a couple of different armies. I probably will end up with them.
You can
Let's
over
not get
time.
ahead of ourselves, Andy. Yeah.
Oh, it's the people that go in and buy like 3 armies like within 3 months of each other,
Yeah.
and then more annoyingly, they manage to get them painted as well.
There was a guy in the shop the other day dropping an absolute ton of money when I was in there learning to play on Sunday, and he took about 7. They didn't have bags big enough. He took about 7 bags of stuff. He kept going back to the shelf and like going, "Oh, I'll get another one of them as well." I was like, Jesus Christ.
Who needs a house over your head?
But yeah, so I guess kind of that was that, and then most recently, for various different reasons, I sort of picked the books back up again, and I'd read a couple of the books that I really liked, and once you've done that, I feel like for me it drags us back into the lore, and
Yeah, so I mean,
that's
you're definitely kind of pulled in by the universe and the stories and the kind of the fun side of it, aren't you? Like the kind of the more narrative side of the games.
Absolutely.
You're not. I think that's not kind of cheeky to say. You're not like a competitive kind of first gamer, if you like.
Absolutely not. No, I'm not. I've got no interest in. And I've got nothing against it either, by the way. But I've got no interest in sort of going and demolishing another player and sort of math hammering it, as they call it, I guess.
Yeah, I think
Never been for me, that.
I'm very similar. I think it's not in my. I don't think it's in my nature to stick at one thing for that long when it comes to like kind of like gaming like that, to get good enough to where I want to put the time in to be that good. I'd much rather have a game and just have fun, because I think otherwise I'd have to stop like 90% of the other stuff that I do in order just to like kind of remember all those fancy rules and the extra bits.
And I'll be honest, mate. Like it's not. It's just not. I don't find that fun. Like if I want to take I don't know, a war suit or something that isn't particularly very good in the game, like I want to take it anyway. I'm not really that bothered. It's not very good in the game.
If it's a model you like and a model you want to paint, exactly,
it looks cool, and I've painted it, and that's kind of what I want to take because of that. So there's a lot of that in how I play, and I like playing narrative stuff, and I played a campaign the other week in the shop with like 6 other guys. It was like a one table, but it was 6 armies. And like that was me in my element. Like I mean, I always rip myself off. I don't take shots and stuff, but it was definitely my element. Like I'm killing my own things basically, but yeah, it was good. I like that sort of thing.
Nice one.
Uh,
I've just seen some comments saying that this stream could do with a bit more hair. Thanks very much.
this is standard Geordie haircut.
Exactly. When you live this far north, like hair's just irrelevant anymore. You know, the hair gets thin up here. That's what it is.
Yeah. So does, Jesus.
What else we got? People chatting about Lancaster bombers and being obsessed with aviation as well. Busey's in as well. He's saying that the Airfix is trending again at the minute. Must be people stuck at home now, all buying model kits. All these people that used to do it when they were kids years ago and stuff.
Yeah, the Airfix stuff's great. Like I was in if you go to model craft and stuff, they're quite often in the bargain bins because nobody's buying them. The little Spitfires and things like that.
Oh yeah,
you can just pick them up for next to now.
I forget who it was now. It might have been. I forget. Somebody in our Discord group shared that Airfix do like a wargaming thing now as well. So it's written by Modifius, who do the new Skyrim game, and they do the Fallout game as well. They do quite a lot of RPG type stuff, and the rules are written by them. But it's all the Airfix little model soldiers and stuff like that.
Oh, nice.
So it's quite interesting that there's obviously like they're trying to come at it from a different point of view now, where obviously maybe that kind of nostalgia for model kits is dying a little bit, so they're trying to do it. They're trying to do it a slightly different way.
I've started to become a bit obsessed with dioramas, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just a couple of them that I think are amazing. But then I always put off making them because I think, well, what would I do with it?
Yeah, I know.
What would I do with it once it's made? Just put it on a shelf. It's
Yeah,
weird.
but it's the enjoy of actually just doing it, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's the thing. Somebody saying VJ out there is saying there Tau being released possibly the worst thing to happen in GW history. Yeah, I don't know a lot about the competitiveness, but I know they get a lot of flack at the moment, don't they? And VJ was saying that was after he got out of the hobby for the first time. Barry saying there he remembers 1994 he played Elves and Goblins and his friend had Undead Army, loved fantasy. VJ saying as well that speaking of the books, that was the Horus Heresy novels I got him in. To be honest, mate, I started with painting, but then when I played my first game and didn't enjoy it, I started reading the Horus Heresy novels, and it almost pulled me back in. But I think it was so close to me not enjoying my first game, and that was purely down to the person that gave me a demo game. He made the rules as he went along, which I now know. I didn't know that at the time. I think he knew less than I knew. I think that was half the problem.
I must admit though, the guys in GW, they're fantastic. Like, I mean, I'm not a good player by any stretch of the imagination, and I miss rules quite often.
Yeah.
But the lad in the shop in Shields and the guys who I spoke to before that in Metro Centre, they're brilliant. Like the way the guy in Shields has taught me and my little boy, by the way,
nice.
how to play as well, just with a very basic rule set. It's just been brilliant, and with me, he's kind of built it up over time.
That's good. I think that's half the battle. Because I tried a long time ago to try and get back into it, and I went along to one of these kind of starter, like you go every week and you kind of learn to play stuff.
Yeah.
And I basically got left to be the babysitter for everybody else's kids. The guys weren't really teaching us anything because the shop was relatively busy, so they were off selling stuff. So they'd go, oh, just do this, see how you get on. So I was just like standing there with a load of like 7 and 8 year old kids, and I'm thinking, this is not for me. And I know they do adult sessions as well, but I could never make the adult sessions because I think they were like midweek, like on a night time, and I was working away and stuff.
Is that a GW shop?
Yeah, it was the one in Newcastle, to be fair. It was going back a few years ago now. So I thought if I can get 2 or 3 of these kind of like sort of sessions in, I might learn enough that I can kind of pick up the rest myself. Because I was trying to learn it from the book, really. It was before like sort of watching YouTube and stuff was a bit of a big thing. But I felt like I was just trying to learn it from the book, and it didn't make any sense to me. I've never been great at kind of learning to play something from reading the rules. I'm much more visual. Like if I can watch a demo or I can have a demo of the game, it sinks in a bit better. But,
well, I tried to kind of watch, like I watch YouTube more than I watch anything else, and I'd watched so much stuff, but I'd never picked any of it up hardly. Like I knew there was phases and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But when I started playing the game and started actually having a go, I picked it up a lot faster than I thought I was. To be fair, thought I was going to take a long time.
Speaking of like learning by YouTube and stuff, I think 2 or 3 days ago, have you seen a channel called, is it Play On?
Yes.
They do like their 40k and 40-minute battle reports and stuff.
Yes.
They've just done a video about learning how to play.
Bizarrely, I was going to send you it and I totally forgot because I see it came up the other day.
Do you know what it is? I had it kind of playing in the background. I think it was yesterday or something like that when I was doing something else, and I need to go back and watch it again because actually, I mean, they're a fantastic like sort of videography stuff. I mean, they're a really quality channel. Like they're obviously know exactly what they're doing when it comes to making videos and stuff, and it's really well edited. But actually, it sounded really, really simple to follow as well. So I might go back in there and actually with a bit more attention sit and watch that one.
Yeah, I do think there's a danger of people playing that have played for a while and they overcomplicate it.
Well, my experience, like the people that's tried to kind of like, when I've said like, is there somebody can give me a kind of like a hand to try and get a foot in here, they tend to like, oh, well, you don't want to buy that because they're no good anymore, and I wouldn't buy that army because that's not very good, and it's like, you've already lost me. I'm only in this to kind of paint nice models and roll some dice, like, so I think that's where I kind of fell down with it really. So
Yeah, mate, well, that's the same as me. I think you can do that. I think it's just that quite often gets a bad stick as well, Warhammer. Quite often gets that thing where people dismiss it immediately, I think. That's what I find a lot anyway, in wider gaming circles, I feel. But like I've picked other things up and read their rules. I was really interested in that Drowned Earth.
oh yeah.
I was really interested in that, just from a dinosaur perspective, to be quite honest. So I did that. I've got that rule book. I've read that a few times, and I probably play that in the future. There's a couple of others that interest us. Warcry interests us quite a bit. That's a GW thing, but that interests us quite a bit because I like orcs and stuff. So I like the opportunity to paint some orc skin tones is what I guess I'd like most. But
Warcry.
so I picked other stuff up. But
Warcry is great just because it's just so basic and just so simple to get into, really.
yeah,
Christian, who's in the chat tonight, he was at the last weekend, I think that I ran, and the Drowned Earth guys were there for the weekend, and they ran like a little. It was like a campaign over the weekend. But if you'd never played before, like the first game would teach you how to play, and then you could take part in the campaign. And he played through that and said he really enjoyed it. I don't know if you played it. Have you played it since, Christian? Have you painted any more stuff? Some of the stuff that he painted was really, really nice for it as well.
yeah, I think I've seen it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the models are all great. I think the fact that you could play it on quite a small area as well. It looked like quite a small board was pretty cool, pretty appealing. That's why Kill Team, going back to your original question, mate. So I started painting again about 18 months ago now, something like that. It's the first time I kind of really looked into painting and started painting, and the reason I got back into it was because my little boy struggles with like sport games and stuff like that. He's got some issues of like he wears hearing aids and stuff like that, and he just struggles to hear things and stuff.
Yeah.
Which is fine. He's fine in that, but we're just looking for different things for him to do. And the Metro Centre shop had piqued his interest, and I'd kind of says to him, "Well, go in, we'll have a look." And when he got in, he was just his face lit up because the guy spent the time like talking to him, and the guy mentioned Kill Team.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Well, what do you mean I can play it on a small board with tiny little teams all of a sudden?"
Yeah.
And that was kind of what piqued my interest. And then we bought the Kill Team box set. Kind of that's what got us back into it. I just remembered how fun painting was. And it's therapeutic for me as well. I find it very therapeutic sort of sitting painting.
Oh, that was exactly the reason I started painting in the first place. So I never really painted when I was younger. I didn't really game or anything like that. So it wasn't until my twins, who are now like 18 this year, they were first born really, and I was at home. I obviously wasn't going out, working all day, coming home to try and like. Obviously, my wife at the time, I had all day at home with the twins and stuff, and she was like, right, you're going out. So you would come in from work and then do all the time, sort of sorting the kids out, getting the kids to bed, trying to feed them at the same time and changing nappies at the same time and all sorts of stuff. And I was just looking for something that would basically, just to chill out a bit, just to kind of switch off.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
And it was painting. It was painting that kind of, I got into it at that point. Right, what we got in the chat? We got Tiberius is saying, huh, Geordies are Southerners. You would say that when you're from Scotland, mate. We got Dave. Is it Dave Dog or Doggy? Apologies, Dave, if I'm pronouncing that wrong. It says, going out to Newcastle with just a T-shirt in the dead of a freezing winter. That's just normal attire, mate. Now I'm getting a bit older, to be fair.
What's winter?
Winter's every month. That's not like June the 1st, I think, basically.
Living up to those stereotypes, Andy.
Exactly, mate. But now until I'm getting old now, mate, because I've started to invest in coats. I never used to buy coats when I was younger. I've started to buy coats now, but I think that's just me getting old. That's all it is, really. I feel it in my bones now. What else we got? Let's have a look. Phil's just started reading Black Legion after Talon of Horus. Good stuff so far. Very nice. People are just chatting amongst themselves here as well, so I'm just diving in, picking some bits and pieces out. James is saying, Al, you should totally give Warcry a try. It's my favourite game currently. I hate my playgroup has put it on pause under the circumstances. Yeah, it's a bit tough, mate, isn't it? It's a bit tough. Christian saying he played Walking Dead at both weekenders, hasn't played it since. Have a couple of models half painted on his desk at the moment as well. Barry saying 7th edition Kill Team dragged him in. 7th edition Kill Team. I don't know if I know that one then. I guess Kill Team, but a little while ago, wasn't the same Kill Team as it is now, is it?
Oh, really?
It was a bit more. Was it a bit more kind of linked to 40k? I don't remember.
I don't know. I've never seen the other one. I just seen the most recent one. That was kind of what pulled us back in. But yeah, I like the idea of it. I don't think the rules are great, but it's definitely playable.
Yeah, I mean, I quite enjoyed it when I was playing it. To be fair, it was obviously before the days of Warcry and stuff came out, and there was a few of the lads from my local gaming group used to come over to mine on a night time, and we'd kind of play like two separate 2-player games. And then we'd get, like, at the end of the night, we'd play, like, a big 4-player game on it, like, join boards together and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was much more narrative. We weren't, like, you know, we weren't, there was no kind of competitive stuff when you're just playing around somebody's house.
Yeah, that's what we do in here. Like, we've got a couple of kill teams now. My little boys painted some, my little girls painted some, and we've got them all in boxes. And when we play, we just grab a bunch of models and kind of go from there with a basic rule set, you know.
Yeah, I keep meaning to go back and like visit it again, really, because I did enjoy it. It just, I think what confused me at the time was, is that basically I think I got, because I was doing stuff for the YouTube channel and that, I got caught up in wanting to play like the full rules, I think, and it was probably a little bit complicated. Yeah. It was maybe a step too far for me at the time. I didn't really need that much complication. Instead of just doing what I was doing when the guys were coming over and just like forgetting about all the different specialisms and forgetting all the extra cards and just rolling dice and having a laugh. So kind of there's a learning in there somewhere.
Yeah.
What else we got? So Spect saying Warcry is amazing as well. John Estel saying, as a southerner who moved up, it's freezing up here. You get used to it, mate. How long you been here now, John? VJ saying Warcry is great. Pretty excited to set up these newly painted terrain. VJ, I know you've felt like you've been kind of like pulling teeth out, mate, painting that. It's been a hard slog for you. But what an amazing effort. Like it's now you've got it all finished. It looks fantastic, mate. And he's saying he's hoping to get a game in, but who knows when he'll be able to under the circumstances. Yeah, it's a bit garbage at the minute, that. Barry's saying 7th edition Kill Team included a mini version of the 40k rules. So yeah, so it wasn't like a standalone. Well, I think you bought it in like a box, but it wasn't like a big box like Kill Team is now. If you like, it was just like a little, kind of like a small, almost like an expansion type looking thing, really. VJ saying his first purchase back in the hobby was 7th edition Kill Team as well, and his wife bought him for Christmas. She's a keeper, mate. Warforge is saying love Kill Team. Start playing Necromunda. I've still got Necromunda like completely like untouched. Really. Yeah, I mean I've built the models, but I've done nothing with it.
I'm very tempted with Necromunda. It's that whole sort of grimy side of 40k really appeals to me as well.
Yeah, I like the kind of the narrative aspect, the story behind it. The rules are just that little bit. I probably just need to put a bit of time in it, I suppose.
Yeah, that's what kind of puts me off, I think, a little bit, because I'm just learning the 40k stuff really, so I don't want to dive in too much.
No, that's the best way to do it, mate. Barry saying there were limits on what you could use, no Terminators and only light vehicles. So it was just kind of like a
small 40k.
Like a small 40k. I quite fancy just playing like 500 points 40k. It's just like not get carried away with trying to get to 2,000 points, because I think if I set my head on that, then it's not that overwhelming kind of.
I've never played 2,000 points yet.
Yeah.
1750 is the most I've played.
Yeah. Did you find like the game had sort of changed dramatically the bigger the game got?
Yeah, so when we started learning, we were playing with, I think it was 30 power level or something you started out, which I think's around 500 points, something like that.
Right.
So that you're not worrying about the points because it's just power level, which is dead easy. So that was really small games, and they were very tactical. So you learn like not to run into Terminators was the first thing I learned. Basically, don't run into Terminators and
See them big things with big guns. Don't go there.
even if you've got to double the amount of guys, don't run into them. But yeah, so I kind of learned about, because obviously other armies, he was playing Iron Warriors, like a chaos-based army.
Yeah.
So I didn't know about their army. I just know about Space Marines. So yeah, those little games were really good for that, and that actually were quite fun because of that. It's because of the tactics, you know.
Yeah.
The 1750 point game I played was the most recent one I played, and that was against Imperial Guard or Astra Militarum or whatever you call them nowadays.
Yeah.
And that was different because he had loads of tanks, and I'd never kind of played against a load of armor before, so I had to kind of figure that out. And I found it a lot slower.
The bigger the game got.
Yeah, so by the time he'd kind of did all these, and it wasn't the lad's fault. I mean, it's just the speed of the game. But by the time he'd done all these orders and stuff like that, I was kind of chomping at the bit to do my moves and stuff. I'd kind of thought through all my moves and that, and I was trying to I was thinking ahead. Maybe it's just the way that I played, but he seemed to take ages to move his stuff. Whereas I'm sure I felt like that for him with me as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's perfect. I think
kind
that's
of standing doing now, aren't you? And it's a bit weird.
I think that's probably why it kind of it maybe puts me off is like that early in the first learning it. The last thing I want to be doing is like standing around for 20 minutes with somebody else who's just learning to like, well, so what do I do with this model, and then what do I do with, like, that's why I think starting off at like at 500 points or something would probably be a bit more interesting.
Yeah, just for VJ Morphs, no one over 25 calls them Astra Militarum. I'm still 21, mate. So.
Nice one.
Does that mean I've got to call them Astra Militarum?
I'll take one. Just got plenty of chat tonight, folks. Thank you very much, folks. Scott saying he prefers the historical or narrative games, especially the TV show games. And painting huge 40k armies is pretty boring. I think it depends really. I thought painting big armies would be a little bit dull as well, to be fair. But actually, what I found is painting the Kings of War stuff. You kind of just get into a groove. You kind of you zone out a little bit really, and just get on and enjoy it. Really, I mean, I think certain armies can be a little bit dull to paint, but I think that's true with any game. Even when you don't get a lot of models in some games, some models can be dull to paint.
Yeah, absolutely. Some models I just don't get away with. I just don't like them. So they're for me. They're the ones I find hard to paint.
Yeah.
So and then like other models, like when my son got the Gene Stealers, I was trying to help him put them together, and they're the worst models to put together that I've ever had to build. And I've built some terrible like Revel models and stuff like that, and they were awful. He was really struggling with them, which was a bit gutting, but he managed to do it eventually. But I really struggled with them because they were difficult to put together.
Yeah, they're the ones that come in the kill team starter set, aren't they? As well, the Gene Stealers, or are they different ones?
No, we got Admech and Gene Stealer Cult in the starter set, and then he bought the Tyrannid Gene Stealer Kill Team box thing. So he had just Gene Stealers, but they're fun to play with, like against Marines and stuff. So they just charge at everyone and eat them, which is what he loved. So
that's it, isn't it? Just point them in the right direction and let them go.
Yeah,
that's the way to do it. Like, who else we got here? John's saying he's been 4 years up in the northeast. His kids have got Macam accents.
Oh dear. Go, quick, run away.
Kieran's saying he's late in, but he's got his brush in hand, beer close proximity, and all right, chaps. Hello, Kieran. I haven't got a beer tonight, mate. I've just got like a bottle of juice thing, really. I'm trying to.
I'm making up for Andy because
you're on the good stuff.
I'm on the good stuff.
Barry saying Nick Ramonda's awesome. Steve says he's a rare one. He's never had a break. He's been gaming solid for 41 years non-stop. Yeah, nice going, mate. Yeah. Warforge says Combat Patrol was 500 points. I don't think I ever have even heard of Combat Patrol. I mean, like I've said before, I'm not like, I haven't hugely been into GW games really over the years. So like a lot of the kind of the nuances of different rule sets and different editions and stuff, it's probably more that I've learned now just so I can kind of talk the lingo really. I'm not that up on it really.
I think it gets an unfair rap sometimes. I do. Like, I watch a lot of stuff on YouTube and reviews and stuff and all that sort of stuff. But I think sometimes it gets tarred with the arch GW, so let's bash it brush, which isn't always fair. Sometimes it's fair and very warranted, but sometimes it's not. It's a bit unfair.
I think it's easy to bash the big boys, isn't
it?
That's just how it is. Regardless of whether you like the game or not, like it's just there's plenty of people do, and that's kind of where I come from. Really, is that it's not just because I haven't enjoyed it in the past through whatever experiences that's been. It can't be a bad game. Like there's too many people enjoy it. Like that's the bit I keep coming back to and thinking like I have to give this a fair crack of the whip.
So I have a bit of a theory on that.
Yeah.
So I don't think any of these games are bad games. I just think sometimes you get bad players.
and I think that's exactly my experience. Like I say, my demo that I had was awful, but like that was like I said. Like now I know more about it. I know that basically what I was getting a demo of wasn't 40k really. It was something else that this kid was making up in his head. So
never good.
Which is never good really. So I can't exactly I can't tarnish GW with that problem really. What we got? VJ says, I told her you said that when I said his wife was a keeper. She said that if she'd known this, she would never have bought it for me. 5:30 in the morning, live streams and a garage full of stuff. VJ's over in Australia, so he gets up nice and early to watch this.
Oh, nice. No, good effort, mate.
I know. Peter's saying 500 points 40k was something GW tried as an unofficial add-on before Kill Team appeared. Interesting. You won't ever really hear people talking about the big sort of 2,000 point games online and stuff. I think that's where my exposure to 40k is really. So you get sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Not tarnished by it, but you get blinded, I think, to everything else that's out there.
Yeah.
Neil Anderson, nice to see you, fella. He says he's using power levels is easy. Just been learning the rules with squads of infantry this week.
Yeah, absolutely. That's how I started. Just 3 squads of 5. I think he started with, like just showing us the movement and stuff. And then he said next time you come in, like you just talk us through it. And then he said next time you come in, bring what you've got. And I just went in with me stuff, and we played 500 points through. I think we only did about 2 or 3 turns, if that. Yeah. But it was really good. So same stuff.
Nice one.
It's the best way to do it.
Bit of chat there about Epic as well. People say, really miss Epic. John Francis saying their big armies used to be good in 40k, but he really misses Epic. Daniel Engel, nice to see you, mate. Good afternoon to you. He says, how's everyone doing? You finally got the word to start working from home next week. Whereabouts are you, Daniel, again? I know you're kind of stateside, I think, but I can't remember exactly whereabouts you are. Scott said he's got a load of Kings of Water paint. Since he's got the Walking Dead, it's gone on the back burner.
John France, what's the difference between a Macam and a Tacam? Not a lot, mate. About 13 miles.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Yeah. That's all it is, really. Two cities very close together.
Yeah. I'm smack bang in the middle, but I'm a Newcastle lad, so I'm just kind of edging on the end of Sunderland territory, which is a bit dangerous.
Yeah, South Shields was always a bit like Derby days was always a little bit like you didn't like. I was obviously I'm from Sunderland, so I'm a Sunderland fan. But like going where you wouldn't wear a Sunderland shirt in South Shields, I think on a match day. That was for sure. It was a bit 50-50.
It's more Sunderland now.
Is it?
Yeah, my local's a Sunderland pub, bizarrely.
Oh, I obviously moved away at the wrong time. Scott saying he must crack on with his slow grow army, too preoccupied painting lots of walkers. VJ saying many people fall out of love with 40k. It can get very vitriolic about it. Yeah, I think people do get a bit burned, don't they?
It's a great word, that, by the way, vitriolic.
I know, that's it. We got the smart people in our chats. That's what happens.
It's a great word. Great use of word of the day, that.
you get the gold star for that 100%. One, VJ.
Yeah, it's a great word.
Luke Pryor's in. Nice to see you, Luke. How's it doing? He says, how long's it been going? We've been going about 30 minutes, 40 minutes, mate, something like that. But I'm not in any rush to disappear, so don't worry about it. Craig saying he was a Warhammer fantasy player, tried to get into 40k a few times, never enjoyed it, never thought it played as well as fantasy rather. It's funny because I've never enjoyed fantasy just purely from the view of it, really, I think.
So I never really understood this, and you'll probably be able to answer this quite quickly, mate, but can't you still play fantasy? I get that the models aren't made and stuff, and I get that you'd be proxying or whatever, you'd be having to kit bash or buy from somewhere else, but can't you still play the rules for fantasy? I mean, what's everyone's issue with playing the old rules?
I don't think the issue is with playing the old rules. I think the issue was the fact that so basically what happened was when the end times came along and they killed off the old world, they didn't really tell anybody they were doing it, so they released a shitload of models and books like leading up to it.
Right.
And in hindsight, it's probably easy to see, like, to go, oh well, all the stories were about the world blowing up. Like yeah, I can kind of see where they were going, but they didn't tell anybody that they were doing that. So they basically just...
So it's more a sort of a grievance with the narrative of it than the actual sort of way they got rid of it.
I think there's a few parts to it. There's some people that are really obviously a bit like annoyed that they blew it up and that they couldn't have just tried to do something different. They could have tried to, like, you know, can you not just sort of re-establish the rules as they are? Could you not change the rules? We'll keep the law and keep the world going, kind of thing. So there was a lot of people obviously kind of heavily invested into it. Some people had spent absolute hundreds and thousands of pounds on models and stuff that basically were no longer playable, you know, because they were all nobody wants to go and rebase sort of a load of stuff onto round bases and stuff.
I get that. That's absolutely.
But then I think that basically it was just the idea that it was a bit of a sneaky move, I think, at the time. They didn't handle it very well at all. That basically they just, like, almost overnight, it's like, all right, this is going.
So is the general consensus that they were doing it because of the IP, sort of wanting to get an IP in there that they could protect? Is that the general sort of feeling, or because they brought out Sigmar pretty quickly?
Well, I think what it was is that basically, I think, like, fantasy stuff wasn't that cool at the time. Basically, it had started to kind of wane a little bit, I think. Obviously, before the likes of kind of Game of Thrones had come along and stuff, I think Lord of the Rings had basically done well for them. But even that, by the time The Hobbit had come around, I think even that had started to kind of. I think if GW could have got out of their licensing agreement at that point, they probably would have done.
Really?
And I think basically 40k was making them plenty of money, and I think fantasy basically wasn't making them as much as they needed to, really, especially when it's like shareholders and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, of course.
And I think they decided they just had to do something different. And unfortunately, I think they had an Asian fan base who pretty much had already bought a lot of, like, models. And the young people that were coming in were picking up 40k.
Right.
So I think that was where they decided. Fantasy had become a little bit rules bloated, a lot more complicated over time, I think, than 40k was at the time. So I think there's a few different, like, reasons for it. But like it or hate it, I mean, they're making money hand over fist now. So from a purely business point of view, it seemed to have been the right choice. But if I was a fan of the game, I think I'd be a bit peeved by the whole thing as well.
Yeah. Fair enough. It's just a bit of a weird thing if the rules are still there and you've got those armies that you've spent so much time painting and stuff, and you've got a gaming group. Like, I don't know why you wouldn't continue to play the game. I'm sure some people do, I guess. But
I think the problem with it is people still like to buy new stuff, basically, and if they can't buy new stuff for the game, I think that basically that was part of it, really. The other side of it as well is I think a lot of people obviously were very annoyed about what they'd done and kind of
Yeah.
refused to give them another penny anymore. And I think some of those people that were playing fantasy either went off and played something like Kings of War with the models they already have, or they went off and tried Age of Sigmar. So
I've seen War Machine did quite well at one point and then sort of dropped away as well, didn't it? Because I quite fancied that at one point as well.
War Machine did quite
Was it
well.
War Machine?
Yeah, War Machine picked up a lot of fantasy players, but it did it before fantasy died.
Yeah.
I think it was around 6th, 7th edition, something like that. A lot of people who like to play the game competitive basically were getting a bit annoyed at how fantasy was, and they drifted off and started playing War Machine.
So is War Machine more geared towards competitive players then, I'm guessing?
Yeah, massively.
Oh, okay.
I played it for about a year or two, and I played with a great bunch of lads. To be fair, in the northeast, and it was for us. It was more about sort of going to tournaments, going to events for the weekend, and having a night on the booze, and sort of a bit of a lads' weekend really. So we used to go to like the UK nationals, the UK national championships and stuff down in Birmingham, and have a full weekend in Birmingham, and we'd go to York and for the Vapn Attack one in February, and it was one of those tournaments where half the field didn't turn up for the first game because they were all hungover from the night before. And it was about the fun really, but it was a competitive game and people took it that way as well. I mean, the national championships and stuff we used to play in was like 128 people, so they were big tournaments.
The models all looked super cool. I think it was the mech type things that kind of
the Warjacks.
Yes, that's them Warjacks. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
They were also pretty clever, like the Hordes game as well, which was like a sister game to it. Basically worked off a slightly different mechanic. So basically in War Machine you had focus. So your caster basically would give out focus to your Warjacks to allow them to do stuff.
Yes.
And in Hordes, you're basically, I think they were still called casters, I forget what they're called now. But basically you had beasts in that game, and the beasts would generate fury, and your casters had to leech the fury back off them. So it was a similar mechanic but in reverse. But the two games were compatible, so you could play the armies against each other. So it was
cool.
so it was pretty cool. It was quite interesting. It kept the game a bit varied and stuff. I've just saw Scott saying, Andy, where can I get one of those painting handles? These are the red grass painting handles, mate. Your video just disappeared, mate, off my screen there randomly. You've gone really, really tiny. I don't know what it's done.
In the corner.
I know. Let me just get that back. I don't know why it did that. That'll be Skype for you. Just playing funny buggers. Let me my little hidden keyboard down the bottom here.
It's probably for the best, mate.
That's it. I think that's just telling you've had enough, mate. Now you're done for.
It's the hair. It's that haircut that Paul Palms was on about.
There we'll go, mate. Yeah. Back in the
Paul
room.
Palms, who cost us a life in the fantasy game, by the way.
I tell you what.
On what was it called? Lizard Island or something?
Island of the Lizard King.
Mate, I thoroughly enjoyed that.
Do you know what it is?
Brilliant.
I enjoyed it, and after the stream, I went back and played it again on my own right after we'd finished. And you know the first bit where you had to decide where you went and helped Mungo or you did a runner.
Yeah.
I thought I'm just going to do a runner and see what happens. And actually, if you do a runner, basically something comes out the sand and kills you. So we would have died in the first 30 seconds or something if we'd done the other choice. So then when I had to go back to the start, it was like, oh, I'm just going to bed now. So I'll probably go.
Brilliant, mate. I think the chat did as well. Like, it was a thoroughly enjoyable stream. That I loved it.
I'm always a bit wary about them kind of ones because I always think because I can't really gauge if it's enjoyable or not. Do you know what I mean? It was good. It's kind of funny, so I'm glad people had a bit of fun.
Good. Well, I had fun. I'm speaking on behalf of everybody, but I definitely had fun.
I've had some good feedback, to be fair. So there's a bit of chat about fantasy stuff. Craig said he got out of fantasy before they killed it, moved on to other games. BJ saying he thinks a lot of the neckbeards got upset about fantasy battles wrapping up, just hate that they won't get new stuff. I kind of get what you mean there. Paul Palm says, Andy, are you painting a model of yourself? Is my face that red, mate? or is it the horns? Is that the bit that you're...
I've got the Andy model here somewhere. There it is. There it is. See? That guy on there. I don't know if that's even going to...
No, it's perfect, mate. I can see that.
Yeah, it's the Andy model.
Scott's saying it was a bit shit. Basically, GW scrapping fantasy the way they did. Yeah, I think that was half the battle. Basically, is the fact that there was none of this like they didn't market things the way they do now, so they wouldn't have like 6 months worth of build up for something new. It would basically just appear, and that was basically what happened with fantasy. Almost overnight, it was just like, oh, by the way, this doesn't exist anymore. Like that's it. Like, and I think around that time, some of the models they were releasing were things like. I forget what it was now, but there's a big model it's in AOS to be fair now as well. But the model was about 90 odd quid, and it was part of like the End Times book and stuff. So people were buying all this like new stuff, going, "Oh, it's great. We haven't had any new stuff in a little while." It was back before like the way GW are now, where it's like 25 new things every weekend across all the different systems.
25 new Primaris lieutenants every week.
Yeah, it was back before that stuff. So. Yeah, people were getting excited about buying new stuff, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh yeah, it just doesn't. You can't play it anymore. VJ is saying it's going to change when the old world comes out. I'm surprised we haven't heard more about that. To be fair, that's a weird one that they kind of teased that one quite so early. I almost thought that I'm not saying they were lying basically, but you know when they said about this could be years away, I almost thought it was a case of that's just marketing. It's going to all of a sudden it's going to appear like 6 months time or something. Yeah. But I'm starting to think actually it might be years away because we've not really heard anything much more about it. There was a little bit of mention about elves and stuff not long ago, but
they're obviously working on that sort of stuff because they released the Sigmar, what they're called, what they changed them to, Liveneth or something, or Ilveneth.
Is it Lumineth or something?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be. It's going to be interesting anyway to see what they do because I can't imagine they're going to bring this new game out and use existing models. They're going to want people to buy stuff.
I think that might be all then if they do a Dwarfs army.
Yeah,
I think so.
Dwarfs your thing, eh?
I just like the idea of it, mate.
Yeah,
it's me kin, I think.
It's your northern brethren.
I always had a soft spot for Gimli and Lord of the Rings, so
I think a lot of people do. To be fair, don't they? He's
got a big axe, hasn't he? What's not to like about a big axe?
And a bit of a bad temper.
Aye. And a beard. I kind of grew a beard, so it's beard envy. That's what it is.
That's all it is. Yeah. Luke's saying he never liked fantasy as a kid. Don't enjoy rank and file. Fell out of love with 40k a good few years ago, being tempted back to Kill Team and Warcry. Likes the miniature agnostic games now, though. I've said before, Luke, I'm always a bit funny with like miniature agnostic games, where you can basically just play what you like. I think that the collector in me doesn't sit right with me really. Or, I don't know. That maybe not the right phrase, but I'd rather get into a game where there's a defined model range, and when I play the game, I know exactly what it is on the table, if you like. But more and more I'm starting to come round that way a little bit now. I think it's probably as my collection's got bigger and bigger. I've got loads of stuff that I'm not using, and I'm starting to look at it and say, well, actually, I could use this in that. And I think rule sets are getting better as well, to be fair. Like, there's a lot of people that are doing like homebrew rules for stuff, and I think they're getting a lot better now as well. VJ saying, don't think it was fantasy being out of vogue as much as the rules have become bloated and crap, but they knew they couldn't streamline them without losing. Yeah, I think it's that's probably more accurate as well, to be fair, mate. I think it was definitely it had definitely become a bit bloated over time. I think I think they certainly weren't releasing books the way they do now. So some of the codexes or what were they called? Army books for fantasy were like way behind. So you might have had like someone like Wood Elves might have still been on a 6th edition for our army book, and fantasy was at 8th edition, and it hadn't been updated. So I think there was quite a lot of kind of imbalance and stuff like that.
That's no good.
Nah. Blizzard's saying that's what he loves about Mantic when it comes down to what Luke was saying there about kind of miniature agnostic stuff. Mike G, good evening, Mike. How are you doing? He says a lot of armies will become unusable. Let's just jump off the top of my screen there. Let me go find out where it was. A lot of armies become unusable, kept on selling them by the ton, letting anyone know you get, or without selling them by the ton before letting anyone know you got a ton of stuff with no rules for it, and then Kings of War stepped up. I think Kings of War definitely kind of mopped up a lot of that audience. Luke saying only mighty game he's played is Dreadball, which I love. Have you seen, Luke, that I think it's Kieran is in the Mantic Games forums has done a Vassal version of Dreadball, and because it's kind of like a board game anyway, it works pretty well. I wouldn't mind giving that a try actually. Vassal, for those who don't know, is basically a bit like Tabletop Simulator, where you basically just get and play board games online. VJ saying, frankly, from looking at Kings of War stuff, those rules are a lot better than how bad the fantasy rules had gotten. I think the interesting thing, VJ, is that the rules for Kings of War are written by Alessio Cavatore, who wrote a lot of the fantasy rules, and I think he basically took the essence of what fantasy was, and distilled it down into a lot less rules.
He'll know which bits weren't right and which bits were right, and probably
come
up with it. And he said,
yeah, and he probably, I think by that point he'd left Games Workshop or whatever the situation of why he wasn't there anymore. But yeah, he's he did a good job with those first set of rules, and now we're up to the 3rd edition for Kings of War. It's just been kind of refined over time now, I think. Little bits of
it looks very good, I must admit.
Little bits of flavour and stuff being added into it. A lot more magic in it now than there was originally, I think, as well. They kept magic very simple. Magic was essentially just a ranged weapon, which kept things a lot simpler, I think.
Right.
So
they've got the spell things in now, haven't they? I've seen something about that the other day. Is it like everlasting spells or something? Same sort of thing.
Yeah, I think that's coming through from the summer campaign. So a little bit like what AOS does with the endless spell things.
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah, I think there's something similar coming in the summer campaign for them. Where else we're up to? John Francis is all playable in 2nd edition Dreadball. Because he's got a load of 1st edition stuff. Luke was saying, and John saying that they're all playable in 2nd edition as well. Where else were we looking at? That was where Scott was asking about the paint and handle. God, I'm well behind now, aren't I? Brian's in as well. Brian's saying, nice to see you, Brian. He says he loved 5th edition fantasy, played vampire counts. I think I once picked up a vampire counts army book for fantasy because I quite liked the idea of it, but then I just basically read the stories and looked at the pictures and stuff, and that was about as far as I got. But I did quite like the idea of the vampire counts. I think the difference was, though, by the time I picked it up, it was probably, I must be talking maybe 7th edition by that point, was it? So it wasn't. It'll not have been the same armies by that point, I would imagine. Where else? Scott saying Monday's live stream was one of the best streams I've been involved in. Also, we're talking about the fighting fantasy stuff. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Like I said on the time, it's one of those streams where, like, if I go by the numbers, like how many views it gets and stuff, it looks like it's completely the wrong thing to do. Like, it'll get a lot less views than most of my videos or most of my live streams. However, now I don't really give a monkeys about how many views things get. As long as the people that are watching it enjoy it, then it's exactly the right thing to do. So, like, in times gone by, when I've done it in the past, I look back on it and I think, well, nobody watched it. But it's almost irrelevant, really. If the people that were there on the live stream enjoyed it, then it was worth doing. So you just got to kind of change how I view things, I suppose. And to be fair, I mean, it's easy to say that kind of stuff now I've been doing this for a few years. If you're just starting out and you're getting videos that with not a lot of views or whatever, it's a bit of a different situation, I think. You kind of get a bit down, sort of, especially when you put a lot of time and effort into things, you get a little bit down about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I've had that a bit on Instagram with the paint and stuff, because like I've not got any interest in building a huge following, but I like to have a bit of crack when I'm painting.
Yeah.
And sometimes you sit there for an hour and there's nobody else on the painting stream, and you're like, what am I doing wrong? You start to question what you're doing, and I'm like, I'm doing nothing different to what I was doing before. I think sometimes you just catch people at the right times, isn't it? Like, it's just, yeah, absolutely.
You know, if somebody's having a lunch break or something like that. Like, at the minute, it must be tough as well, because it's like, where in the past, you might catch, like, you used to catch me on my lunch breaks at work and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Where now, all day is a childcare day. So if I'm sitting having lunch, I'm sitting having lunch with a 3-year-old at the minute. So it's like, it's just different times and that. But all I would say is if you're enjoying it, just keep plodding on with it, and just try some different stuff. Try YouTube, try Twitch, try just try different things.
Yeah, I think I will do.
But if you're just sitting painting anyway, there's no harm in it, is there?
No, not at all.
Where are we at? Tiberius is saying the big issue was there was about 130 quid's worth of books and about £500 of new models to play the End Times campaign, and it popped 2 months later. That's what I seem to remember, mate. I obviously don't know the details as well as you do, mate, because I know you were a big fantasy player, James. But I knew that was the rough kind of timeline of it. I didn't realise it was as bad as that.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Yeah, I do seem to remember some of them models being very expensive at the time.
Yeah, they're not great with their books, GW, to be fair. They're sort of codexes or whatever they're called now, battle tomes or whatever.
Yeah.
Just simply from a point of view that they seem to spread the rules across 4 or 5 books. Somebody was playing the other day with on one of the videos I was watching with, I think it was Tau or Tyranids, and they had 3 books just to get the rules, which I think is too much. They need to change that relatively quickly. Otherwise, that's gonna be a huge issue for them moving forward, I feel. I know they sell the books and that, and it's got artwork in and backstory and all that, but it's just like that's not a good look for them, I don't think.
No, and I think from a collector's point of view, it's nice to get new stuff, but I think you're right when it actually comes to playing and your rules are spread across 3 books. Yeah. That's a little bit tough and stuff. So never complain about there being new stuff to pick up kind of thing, but. Yeah, when it's rules spread all over.
But they could still release the collector's books though, with just the like the backstories and the artwork and stuff in, and I think people would still buy them.
Yeah.
And then they wouldn't, for want of a better word, annoy their user base by sort of spreading the rules for actual playing of the game across 4 or 5 books. And I think like this doesn't take a genius to figure this out, but we do have something called the internet now where you can upload stuff and change things and move things about. So I just feel like it's a bad look for them. It gives their business a poor image, in my opinion.
I almost feel like it's kind of like it's a business decision to not do digital updated rules, because they're worried that people won't buy the books.
Maybe
it's kind of.
They could test it though. Businesses can test that or try it, or they can do that sort of thing.
Yeah.
They're choosing not to as a business, which I think positions them poorly.
Because I know Mantic, I got the digital rules for Kings of War 3rd edition, and they update their digital rules. So whenever any FAQs come out, the digital rules get updated and there's a new version of the rules to download.
Yeah.
So other companies are doing it and stuff, and obviously Fantasy Flight. Pretty much all of their rules are online now.
Yeah.
So they don't sell physical books for things like Star Wars Legion and stuff.
I think you need to. I really don't. I think it would be much simpler. And then you could have an app then that sort of would also be able to simplify the game on the fly. So then you're taking away some of the complications that are stopping people from learning in the first place. Like the things like warlord traits and adding things into people that confuse people, and like in a codex you have to skip to the back pages and everything to check the psychic abilities or to check, I don't know, a weapon or whatever. Yeah. You're kind of taking that away if you can just have it done a bit like Battlescribe but with more detail and sort of a cleaner look. I think it would really benefit them. I think they'd see an uptake in the people playing the game for sure.
There's a big pushback though, isn't there, of like people who don't want digital stuff in their games.
Yeah, like, probably.
Like people basically saying like I almost play tabletop stuff to get a break from digital stuff.
Yeah, I guess so.
So I think it's maybe just a timing thing. It'll come over time, I think.
Yeah.
Because I think the audience, like in the player base, as it moves over time and younger people coming into it, they'll almost expect it. So
yeah.
It's just old farts like me, and even I'm tech savvy.
I'm only 21, mate, so I'm good.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Jesus, the shine on my head saying otherwise, by the
way. Where else are we at? Yeah, we got August is in as well, who said something and then retracted it, but hello, August. Parsival is in as well. Good evening, Parsival. Chat's just went flying up at top again there. VJ's off to work and do his daycare drop-offs. See you later, fella. Thanks for coming in. I know it's nice and early for you. There's Luke saying there, the reason I like agnostic games is now I have thousands upon thousands pounds worth of minis I've collected for 30 years. It just makes sense. Yeah, I think I'm probably catching up with you, mate. I think I've said before, basically, I didn't get into gaming until I was probably in my 30s and stuff. So my pile of shame, whilst is still suitably large, is probably not as large as some others. Yeah, I've probably got a bit of catching up to do, mate.
Yeah, I was talking about this on when I was painting the other day. Someone was on the stream and I was chatting to him about it, and he'd said, "I've got like 600 quid's worth of stuff sat there doing out." And I'd just watched a video, Midwinter Minis, I think it was.
I knew you were going to say that one where he basically shows his girlfriend his pile of shame.
Honest to God, like if I had that much stuff in the house, I think my missus would kill us. Like, what was it, 600 models, like unpainted models, and even then he was counting some of the box sets as like 3 models when there was clearly way more models in the box.
It's scary, isn't it, man? Like so when I had my studio thing in the garage, I basically kind of obviously things were just stored at home, and recently like I moved all my film and stuff inside into my spare room. So what used to be where the studio thing was, I've bought some like racking, some shelves, so I can get everything really tidy in the garage and get everything nice. So I had a good clear out and stuff, and I was boxing up like boxes of minis and things, and like sprues that I hadn't touched yet, and putting them in, like actually like labeling the boxes up and saying what was in them, and putting them on the shelves. And actually, when I actually started to go through it, it's quite embarrassing actually.
I just when I buy stuff, I'm like, right, I've got to paint that, and then I'm not buying anything else until I paint that. Occasionally I'll buy something, but not very often. Like, pretty good discipline like that. That's about it.
Oh, that's good then, because it's the best way. If you can start off on that keel, that's the best way.
I'm trying hard.
Deep Red saying North Star makes some amazing elves and goblins. I know they do dwarves too. Might be worth having a look at. Yeah, actually, North Star are based on the same little kind of estate thing where like Warlord Games and a few other people are. I've been to Warlord a couple of times, and to Riverhorse, who were in the same building, and North Star's just outside. I should have called in there when I was there. August says, what do you think of Infinity? Do you think you'll get Code 1? Maybe Corvus Belly will sponsor you a free set. Great video on Code 1, by the way. Thank you, August. I really like Infinity, if I'm honest. It's just the reason I've not gone on to play it with any kind of seriousness is that it's one of those, I see it as a bit of a lifestyle game where you need to play it a lot to keep on top of the rules, really, because there's a lot of layers to it. For all the basic rules are actually pretty straightforward. There's a lot of layers to it, I think. And Code 1, yeah, I think Code 1 is exactly what I'm looking for. So basically, when I've got the kind of like the starter sets that have come out in the past, which have really, really simplified rules in them, and those rules are perfect, really. I could almost kind of just play with those, but they are a little bit simple. There's not any depth in those rules, really. The difference is that from them starter sets into official kind of N3 rules is like it's like a chasm of like of extra rules to take on board, and I think that's exactly where Code 1 rule set fits right in the middle of that. So yes, I'm looking forward to it. I'm planning to get my hands on a copy of Operation Coldstrom. I've been speaking with Corvus Belly. I've spoken to them on and off for a couple of years now, and I think there's potentially one in the post when it eventually ships. So yeah, if they hadn't sent me one, I'd have bought one. So we'll see what happens. If it doesn't come out, I'll probably buy one myself anyway. So and I like the two armies, the Yujing and the panel that's in there anyway. They're nice models. So yeah, I'll definitely be doing more, mate. I'll be doing more Infinity stuff in the future. So thank you, August. Craig said he doesn't mind mini agnostic, but does like it to be consistent style. So sometimes people forces can look a bit wrong next to each other. I get that, mate. Definitely is kind of scale creep and stuff like that. Yeah. Kieran saying miniature agnostics better with small narrative skirmish games. You can convert and kit bash rather.
Yeah, like Kill Team or Warcry, I guess. You could do it with that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I think they're perfect for that kind of stuff. Tiberius says, Alessio Cavatori was made redundant. I had a feeling that's what it was, but I wasn't certain.
Know how he feels.
Yeah, me too. but it wasn't. I wasn't entirely certain, so I didn't want to say that on a live stream if I was wrong. But I thought that's what had happened. Where are we up to? Pomsy says, reason he's not a fan of miniature agnostic games is I just want to go online and buy exactly what I need. That's exactly where I am, mate, basically. I'm not even sure it's like a laziness thing. I think it's almost, I need that guide of like, so what do I need? Like, where do I start? Rather than being completely like sort of baffled by what I need. So yeah, I get exactly what you mean by that, mate. So Peter's saying, so I guess without the politics of GW games development, he was able to make fantasy the way it should have been made in the first place. I think essentially, mate, he basically left GW and he went off. He made the bolt action rules for Warlord games, and the two guys that started Warlord, who were Paul Sawyer and John Stallard, both used to work at Games Workshop, and they'd tried to do kind of World War II rules for Games Workshop, but they weren't interested. So when they left, they basically they decided to take their redundancy money, plough it into getting some plastic soldiers made, and that was where Warlord started basically. And then Alessio followed quite soon after that, and went and did the bolt action rules for them as well, and things like Black Powder. And you had a lot of the old ex-GW guys, people like Andy Chambers and I forget the other guy now. That's terrible. He's a big name. The guy that did the Lord of the Rings stuff. Like a lot of their big names went off and did that, and then obviously Alessio went and did Kings of War for Mantic, which again Mantic owned by Ronnie Renton, who used to be the I think he was the North American sales director for GW as well. So it's all a kind of incestuous little world really, all the wargaming. But love or hate GW, they've basically created 90% of other hobby companies that have come out of it, basically, or created. They've kind of give the grounding to those people who've gone on and done other stuff. Skullmunch is in. Good evening, Skullmunch. How are you doing? Deep Red said, "This is cool. It's like hanging out with mates, chatting and painting, but they're all over the world." This is exactly what these are meant to be, mate. As I said before about Monday's live stream, like some videos are, like I will do certain videos that are meant to try and get like views, if you like they're created to appeal to a wider audience. They're carefully crafted with a title that will appeal, that people are searching for, that kind of stuff. Some videos are not. Some videos are for the community. They're for the BlackJack Legacy community. They're for the people that come here every week, and that's exactly what this kind of stream's for. Really, it's just to get your painting stuff out, get yourself a cuppa or something, or a glass of something a little bit more stronger, and just sit and paint and have a chat. And you know, it's only a shame we couldn't all be sitting chatting at the same time. I appreciate you have to keep stopping to type things in, but
until very recently, I don't think I'd ever painted and talked at the same time.
I've done it, like, apart from live stream stuff, I've only ever done it once with a mate of mine, Jason. Oh. He came over once. I think it was like last summer. It was a blazing hot day. We sat in the living room, had the doors wide open, and into the garden, and just because it was too hot and too bright out in the sunshine to sit and paint, so we sat just inside where it was a bit more shaded, and just sat and kind of like just hung out and painted and stuff.
That sounds cool.
And it was pretty cool because it just kind of takes your mind off it a little bit, really, and the time flies by because it's a very solitary thing, like sitting painting, and you can basically get a bit. You can't if your head's not in it, you can feel really isolated, and a lot of people do just sit and paint and feel a bit isolated by it, I think. So
yeah, sometimes just asking an opinion on something as well. Like my colour choices aren't always great. I've been trying to learn a bit about colour theory.
Yeah.
Because I've watched a couple of good videos and stuff on it, but trying to kind of choose colours, I sometimes feel I make the wrong choice. So just getting an opinion of someone, you know, how does that look, or what is that? What do you think about that? Or
it's I know exactly what you mean. Like my painting is average at best, but it's come from years of just trial and error, because I didn't have anybody to sit and ask. That, like, YouTube wasn't really a thing. There was no painting tutorials. There was books and stuff, but even the books were like, so like, oh well, it should be like this, and it's like, well, yeah, but it's a picture. I don't really know what you mean. Like, I've got nothing to compare it against. Like this, the whole thing about thinning it down to the consistency of milk. I still never understand what that means.
I don't think anybody understands what that means.
No.
But yeah, for those in the chat who are saying I literally haven't got any unpainted models. In fact, I tell a lie. I have. I've got from the Mortal Realms. I've got a Stormcast Eternal with a crossbow, whatever that is. I don't know what they're called, and
I'm not
one
sure
of
either.
those Griffhound type dog-looking things that are.
Oh yeah.
Basically, that was the reason I bought the magazine because I want to try and paint the fur on the animal. So once I've done that, that's it. I've got no other unpainted
Wow.
models at all. But I have only been back in the hobby for 18 months, to be fair.
Yeah, I suppose that's it, isn't it? But you've done it the right way, because the amount of people that get back into the hobby and then buy like 2,000 points of army, and like dive straight in and they get bored of it and then try something different, and that's how you end up with all those models that
Yeah,
you
and
haven't painted.
I had like a plan, I think, before I started as well, which was not only did I want to learn how to paint to an all right level, but I wanted to learn how to play. So I think kind of putting my money into I'm not rich. I put my money into like books and
Yeah,
other things like dice and bags and boxes and all sorts of stuff, like making the shed the way it is, all it's all done out of recycled stuff, pretty much.
no, that looks cool. It was nice when you shared your pictures, mate. It's good to see, kind of. Like, because there's no right and wrong way to do it. That's the beauty of the hobby, really. You do it your way. But yeah, you've got a nice little setup there, mate.
Yeah, I've got the lighting's all better, and it's just nice to be out of the house. So I like to get out of the way, when I'm painting and stuff, and just kind of sit and I stick some music on, and I might like do a little stream or something, and it's just cool. Like I like it. So I had a bit of a plan when I come back into it after watching some videos and stuff of what I was going to do. So I've never kind of I'm sure I'll get to the point where I've got unpainted stuff. But yeah, I haven't got that much lying around.
No, that's
Sorry,
cool, mate.
sorry, and all that. Like I'm not
so,
that guy.
sorry for not having way
Yeah,
too much stuff. Yeah.
yeah,
Pomsey saying, I think the choice of available streamers now is overwhelming. I think it's a combination, mate, of things like the equipment you need to stream has become sort of much more affordable now. I think like people's phones are good enough now, to be fair. If you've got a decent Wi-Fi connection, phones are good enough to be streaming on now. And I think obviously the current situation at the minute, there's a lot of people stuck in the house, so they're all deciding to give it a bit of a try in that as well. So yeah, I mean, it's a competitive market out there, if you like. if it comes to attracting people to, like, the choice of streams tonight, I'm blown out. I've got no idea how many people we've got in the chat. I haven't even looked tonight, but I'm blown away by how many people we've got in sitting chatting, because like not only have you got other things you could be doing, but there's a lot of other choice out there as well. So thank you to every single one of you for coming in tonight. Yeah.
yeah. It's pretty cool to have a bit of hobby chat. Like I appreciate like people listening to me talk as well. I'm not a pro painter or a YouTuber or anything like that, but appreciate you having us on, mate, first and foremost, and I appreciate people listening to me spiel. So
No, it's cool, man. Thanks for coming on. Keeps me sane as well. I'm
well,
hardly
know
chatting to
about
anybody these days either, to be fair. So
don't think anybody is, mate.
no. Steve Bonner's in as well. Hello, Steve. Steve Bonner is a phenomenal painter from volume of stuff. He just paints armies after armies after armies, just like non-stop. So you go oh Steve, I haven't spoke to you in a week or something. Have you painted anything? Or just like 2,000 points of like something. Like it's just unbelievable. Where's it gone? I jumped off the top of my screen again there now. Brian saying hi to everybody. Tiberius is saying, the thing is, back when they had summer campaigns, everyone played it and would inform the timeline moving forward in the canon. When they clearly wasn't happening, folk flipped. I think, mate, I think basically, did they not kind of... Somebody told me this, and I could be completely wrong here, so please correct me if I'm wrong, but did they basically just like run out of kind of storyline? Did they basically run out of places for the story to go? Because the difference with 40k is it's set in the future, so they can just keep sort of expanding the storyline and like the timeline and coming up with new stuff. Where with fantasy, it's set in like an alternative historical past. Did they just kind of run out of places to go with it? So
Yeah,
maybe
from what I've read, I think that was kind of it. Like, I mean, the stuff I've seen online about that sort of thing is that they did sort of back themselves into a bit of a corner.
yeah, and I think, to be fair, the risk is when you let the summer campaigns dictate where your story goes, there's a potential like your story goes somewhere you don't really want it to go.
There's a potential that Paul Palms gets involved in your story and then you die, isn't it?
And then it's all done. I tell you what, folks. I'm going to zoom in with this camera a little bit because I'm kind of pleased with how it's looking. So let me just zoom in a little bit. Yeah. Try and not get the camera to bounce around for too much. It's on like a boom arm, so like it's like 6 foot out from where the stand is. So
check you out with your studios, your boom arms. I tell you what,
when I bought my bits and pieces now, this is I don't need to buy anything else. I don't think now really. I think
long way from Sunderland now, mate, with studios and boom arms and stuff.
I tell you what, you can take the boy out of Sunderland, but where are we at? Talking about Steve Bonner's there saying, let me have to just jump over something there. Pomsy saying he was saying the beauty of the day. Why won't any of us stream our painting sessions every time we paint, especially while we're locked down? Yeah, loads of people are starting to do kind of just like hobby hangouts, just like through Google Hangouts or through Skype and stuff like that.
Yeah, I do pretty much every time I paint. I'll stick something on. I might not be on for long, but I'll stick something on. Like
yeah.
No issues if like people joining in or on Instagram. It's quite good because you can just add people to your live.
Yeah.
Which is dead easy to do. So I don't have any issues with that at all. If anyone wants to come on and chat, like none whatsoever.
I've just realised I've had my chat being set on top chat all night rather than live chat, so I'm like 40 minutes behind or something, and I apologise if I've missed anybody's comments.
Pretty standard, that, isn't it?
Pretty standard. Cock up that late, to be fair. Yeah, well done, mate. Where am I up to? Let's see if anybody's called anything out.
Pro live streamer, Andy Burtis.
God, yeah. I tell you what, I'm just gonna. There's a comment there. Brian saying, Andy, you noticed you commented on my Death Guard guide. Do you think my skill level is improving? I think your Death Guard guide, mate, was really, really well done. It was the right level, and Death Guard are good for this kind of stuff. It's that balance between 2 seconds because I'm talking and trying to put paint on my palette at the same time. It's that balance between making them look like grimy and dirty, but still looking clean and like a tidy paint job, if you like. And it's easy to get it wrong, where you can either you can paint a really good job, but it looks out of place, if you like.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, or you can just cover it in 4 layers of Agrax or Earthshade, and it just looks filthy, like. But no, you struck that balance between the two, mate. Like the golds were coming through, the greens were coming through, but it looked worn and dirty and a little bit like basically plagued. So yeah, no, it looked good, mate. I can definitely see improvement in your painting, mate. But to be fair, it don't matter what I think, as long as you're happy with it. That's the important thing. Scott saying what Crabby's just said about the Codex updates for 40k made me drop out of the game. Take Space Wolves Codex when it released. It was already out of date before its release.
Really?
I remember reading something about that. There was something wrong in the Codex, basically.
Wow.
So
that's bad. Quick, that like.
Yeah.
Really bad.
Barry's saying, I'm not buying anything else until I paint that. Dude, that's hilarious. I think it's good.
I'm skint now anyway, so I can't. That's the thing.
Money has a habit of making them decisions for you, doesn't it? So
I have genuinely though struggled to find a box of intercessors to buy. I have looked online the past 2 days, and none of my normal reputable delivery services are either have them in stock or are delivering.
What's funny, I was chatting to a couple of people who own gaming stores, and they said pretty much, because I was saying like how are you managing like with GW shutting down? Are you basically like have you sold through all of your stocks and stuff? And they said we're pretty much sold out of Space Marines.
Yeah.
So they seem to have been almost the first to go, if you like.
Yeah, typical, innit? Have to buy some orcs or something.
Well, at least that'll keep you going for a while, mate.
Yeah.
Where else?
I'll buy some more Tyranids to kill for me board. That went down well.
I like them actually, mate. They look really cool.
Yeah, mate. I tell you what, it's hard. My photography skills are absolutely horrendous, and like I'm very aware of that. but it looks much better in real life because the colours on the Tyranids pop a little bit more, so it just helps break the board up a little bit.
Honestly, 90% of taking photos is getting the light right. If you
Oh
if you
man,
if you if you can just get the light like the right way.
I'm so bad, so bad at photography. Like it's definitely not. I'm normally pretty good at stuff creative wise, but I just kind of pick that skill up. Like,
It's something I just when I'm taking pictures to be like thumbnails and stuff like that, or to be in videos, I've kind of had to force myself to get better at it because it looks garbage. If I
yeah,
put it like if I take a picture and then put it in a video, it looks terrible kind of thing.
Paul's gonna troll us on Insta. Oh, you're not on Insta. That's all right. Ah, good. You can troll us on here instead, mate. That's fine.
That's it, mate. But works both ways. Scott saying Alessio done the Terminator Genesis game for River Horse. He did, mate. He actually owns River Horse, to be fair. Tiberius is saying the funny thing, when Cavatori left GW, he was the named author of all 3 of their rule books. Yes,
Wow.
he was actually. And Luke's saying there, I think you mix up Rick Priestley and Cavatori. Rick Priestley was the guy, he started the Lord of the Rings rules, but I think Alessio was classed as like a co-author with him on it. I think the two of them worked on it together like later on.
Wasn't he?
Before
They're never gonna give you up. Wasn't that? I was like, oh no, Rick Astley. That was.
it was quite interesting. I watched there's an interview online with Rick Astley, no, with Rick Priestley, and he's talking about how he kind of basically pitched Lord of the Rings to GW.
Rick Astley did.
Yeah, Rick
Don't
Astley did.
believe
Yeah,
that, mate. Don't
apparently
believe that.
he made
One
so
sec.
much money from that, from Rick Warren, that basically he had money to burn. And what basically, I think they signed a license with New Line Cinema, who owned the Lord of the Rings franchise at that time, and that basically, I think they said it was like basically they would get 7% of anything GW made from Lord of the Rings minis. And what they did was they basically broke the licensing down for it into like minuscule stuff. So somebody would have the license for a board game, somebody would have the license for like a card game, somebody would have the license for a lunchbox, somebody would have the license for a flask, that kind of stuff. So they basically signed this deal with Games Workshop. And what Games Workshop did, and why the minis for Lord of the Rings are a little bit smaller, is they essentially basically reduced the size of them to basically save 7%.
Yeah, it's very clever that man.
Yeah, so that basically they still made exactly the same amount of profit or same amount of money out of Lord of the Rings as they would have done if they hadn't had to pay the licensing fee.
Well, I told you I found that Lord of the Rings Fellowship box set, didn't I? At a jumble
Oh
sale.
yeah.
I paid a fiver for it. It had Tyranids in, so go figure. But it had. I've got some. My daughter's been painting the elves, so there's like some bowmen and some. I don't know what's the other guys with the long swords. One of them, anyway. There's some of them in there, but there's some goblins, and I presume they're Moria goblins.
Yeah.
And they're absolutely tiny, like they're really, really small models.
Yeah,
Like tiny models.
it's surprising when you see them. I mean, I went halfies with my mate Jason on the Pelennor Fields set, and I must have I kind of get away with the rules. I kind of seem to get them into my head for whatever reason. But that's just me. That's not bad rules. That's just me.
I've watched Zorp. Is it Zorp? I think he's an Australian dude.
Yeah.
Who plays it on YouTube. I've watched him play a couple of them because some of the stuff he does is unbelievable. Scenery wise and stuff, he's just unreal. And I watched him play a couple of the sort of the battles that are taken from the movies. So
Yeah.
so kind of you know what the battle is, and you can kind of watch it without kind of having to know how to play the game, and it is very confusing. Like people have hero stuff and all that sort of thing. I don't care much for it, but it's cool to look at.
There's loads of people like told me like it's a really simple game and you should just give it another try, and like how on earth can you not know what you're doing? It's like one of the most basic rules and all this kind of stuff. So I think I try to learn to play it from the rule book. So maybe if I go back and try and give it another try one day. Got the minis anyway, or I've got half the minis. My mate Jason's got the other half. However, I do have the rule book in my house.
Which half did you get then?
I got the. Do you know what it is? I don't even know Lord of the Rings that well. I got the not the Rohan ones, the other ones.
Not the Rohan one.
The orcs or whatever they are.
Right,
is it the Moria? No, it's not Moria, is it?
It's not Moria. It'll be the Gundabad orcs, is it? Or... The ones that attack, the orcs, the green
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah,
Technical terms. Here we go.
the ones in the Pelennor Fields that are not riders of Rohan. That's the one. So yeah.
Oh, it's not Urukai then, is it?
Oh, it could be Uruk-hai.
Yeah.
It could be. That name seems to ring a bell. At least I've now seen the films. I got a lot of ridicule for not having seen Lord of the Rings films.
They're great, like.
Yeah.
The favourite bit is the Billy Connolly bit, though, still. Just in it for is he in it for 5 minutes, and he's just the best bit of that film.
I took my older lads to see the Hobbit films at the cinema. So I'd actually seen the Hobbit films before I saw Lord of the Rings.
Oh, right, okay. That's what I thought you were talking about when you said you'd seen the newer ones. You're talking about the original trilogy then, right?
Yeah, it's only recently I saw them for
so
the
you
first
hadn't
time.
even seen those ones? Wow.
No. And
That is bad crack, mate.
I know. But when I went to cinema to see the Hobbit ones, it was. The quality of the picture was unbelievable. It was like IMAX or whatever. But it was like the quality of the picture was so good, I could actually see like the fake noses and stuff on them.
Wow.
It kind of took me out of the film, if I'm honest. I was noticing things like, well, I can see where his fake nose is there. It looks a bit weird with the makeup. Like the quality was so good.
I never noticed stuff like that in movies.
I think it was probably because it was like an IMAX cinema, so the thing was probably about 60 foot high and
right.
so. Yeah.
John Fran's taking the mick out of me, Rick Astley. Watch it, or you'll get right, said Fred next.
Luke said he's finally got his arse off the sofa and he's sat at his desk. Lights are on, here we go. That's it, mate. You're just starting to warm up now. We've only been going for, what's that? An hour and a half.
Oh, Jesus.
I know, it flies by time, doesn't it? Scott saying, I enjoy the solidarity of painting. If I needed an opinion on colours or clothing, I ask my 6-year-old, which is where the Minecraft t-shirt wearing Walker come from. I tell you what, mate, you probably get the best answers that way.
Yeah, I'm going to try that one.
Scott said he used to have the... Palmsy's saying he might go and clean his hobby room. That's something. It's a start, mate. You've got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Scott said he used to have the shed, but he's asked the wife if he could use the spare bedroom as a hobby room. Yeah, I'm fortunate we've got a little bit of space here at home as well, got a spare room. And both me and my wife used to work at home from time to time, so it was one of the things we kind of looked for when we bought a new house a while ago, was somewhere that we kind of could use as a bit of an office at home when we're working from home. It just so happens that she now works in the kitchen or works in the dining room.
The poor woman into the kitchen.
So this is my room now.
She's got visions of your missus working in the cupboard under the stairs or something, and you being in this lavish room upstairs.
Like Harry Potter, she's just kind of took to away. Oh, she's good as gold. 1 in a million she is. Marco is in as well. He says just finished working. Back to the painting desk now, mate. Marco, that I forget what the model is called, but it's the not a Warcry model. Although you can use them in Warcry. The one from Silver Tower. The what's he called again? Like the barbarian type thing from Silver Tower is absolutely unbelievable, mate. Your painting, I don't know where it's come from, mate. You've just you were always good, but it just feels like you've just clicked on a notch from nowhere.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I love it. I love your stuff, mate. It's fabulous. Really good to look at and see so much improvement as well. Loads of improvement.
But he's been painting a lot as well. Like Marco paints a lot of board game sets as well. So you'll get he fully painted the entire Hellboy box set, and then basically sold it once he'd finished playing with it as well, and made a profit on it. But nice. But I think he paints a lot. It's not just he spends 6 weeks painting one model. He gets through a lot as well, to be fair. Scott says he's setting up a wargaming channel on YouTube, and he's also got a bushcraft and wild camping one. You used to be in the armed forces as well, didn't you, Scott? I seem to remember. But yeah, let me know when your channel's all set up, mate. Be good. Paul says I prefer to listen to you two chat than pro painters, really. I hope that's not just a bit of a slight at my painting there, mate, was it?
Makes a fair point in my.
It does. Well, for one of us anyway. Your stuff's good, mate. But no, I know what you mean, mate. I think sometimes when you some channels will only ever talk about kind of gaming, if you like. That's all they'll ever chat about. And it all becomes about tactics and useful units and all that kind of stuff. This is like it's not the only thing I do in my life. Like, so I'm going to talk about other crap as well.
Yeah, you don't get Rick Astley on mini wargaming.
You definitely
Sure.
don't. You definitely don't.
You can put that down as a selling point. You can probably use it as a tag, get extra viewers or something.
BlackJack Legacy with added Rick Astley. There you go, mate. Thortlem's in as well. It says the fantasy setting was so well expanded there was nowhere to go without messing the thing up more than it was. Yeah, that was kind of what I thought, mate. And like I say, I'm always a little bit wary about giving my personal opinions on stuff like that when I was never that like active in that community. I don't know a lot about it really, but I've read enough that I kind of think I've formed a solid view of what was going on, kind of thing. Steve says we'll all have to send Krabby some models before he dies, as everyone knows what happens if you've got no models left to paint. Quick, everyone. Yes, mate. We've got to keep you on the stream till something else arrives, so we can just keep an eye on you. Make sure you're all right.
Well, I like blondes that are about 6 foot tall.
Well, Steve's painting.
I'm also here for the jokes.
Steve's painting 6mm stuff, mate, so he might end up just with really small ones.
Jesus.
Yeah, he's painting some 6mm stuff for Kings of War, like doing like a Kings of War army in 6mm scale and scaling the entire game down so it'll like play like on a coffee table type size.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it's quite a good idea. I like the idea of that. William Jones says good writers like role players can always open up a new pocket universe unless they've painted themselves into a corner. Sounds more like someone or a small group just got burned out. Yeah, and then made redundant by the sound of it.
Yeah, I was going to say, if the relationship's broken down from a work perspective, then that guy might have just wanted to move on. He might have just had like writer's block or something, or he might have just getting a bit stale. And he just moved on. You kind of really, it's the human side of it, I guess, that people don't really think about too much. There's got to be a guy writing that stuff. It's like Dan Abnett. Eventually, Dan Abnett's going to get burnt out writing Black Library stuff, and he's going to give up, and that'll be a shame.
Dan Abnett, though, doesn't he do all sorts of stuff? Like, he write for Marvel. He writes for Marvel and stuff as well. And
he has done, yeah.
I'm sure I saw his name on the writing credits of one of the Avengers films or something like that. It was.
Oh, yeah. He's cool. I love his stuff. Like, he's a great writer.
Yeah. Do you know what? I found this brush in my son's kind of like, just the paint sets that you get, like just cheap, crappy paint sets. I found it this morning when we were doing some painting, and it just really it keeps a really nice point. So it's now my new wash brush, but he doesn't know it's missing yet, but I'm sure he will one day. we were sitting painting together this morning actually, and he painted an oak and a Chaos Marine, just to try and keep him occupied and do something a bit different. So. Yeah, my sanity's intact. I managed to paint some models this morning.
Have you seen the Paint a Space Marine thing that GW have got at the moment?
Oh no.
They've got basically you give the kids a sheet. It's got an A4 sheet. I guess you could do it on a tablet or whatever.
Yeah.
And they kind of design a Space Marine, color them in and stuff, and then you can obviously, I guess you have to have a Space Marine for this bit. But what people have been doing is they've been giving the Space Marines then to the kids and saying, right now, paint your model the colours that you've coloured them in.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
I've seen a couple of people doing it on Instagram earlier on. I thought it was a really good idea.
I saw, I think it was Corvus Belly as well. It released some like downloadable to print off, like just like blackline drawings of some of the Infinity models for like kids to colour in and stuff like that. It's probably all adults that's doing it, to be fair, but it's kind of nice that it's a nice feeling, and I know these companies all obviously still want to be there when this whole thing kind of blows over, and that's terrible saying it blows over. It makes it sound like it's a bit of nothing, but when things start to get back to normal, all these companies still want to be there trading, but some of them more than others really are going the extra mile to kind of to keep communities together. Like there's some companies I haven't heard a thing from them, and that's a bit of a shame, really.
Yeah. I think there is people doing that extra bit of stuff, and that's nice. And I think there's quite a lot of. Well, initially I thought there was quite a lot of people jumping on them and saying, "Oh, you're doing it for publicity or advertisement or whatever." There's quite a lot of that on sort of message boards and stuff. But then I think now it's kind of died down, like, and people are realizing that these some of these people are genuine and they're just trying to do something that's beneficial for people, and it's nice.
They've also got to try and keep their jobs as well. Like if they don't do that, what the hell else do they do? Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
so there's an element of like not wanting to be out of a job at the end of this stuff. So,
100%.
um, where are we at? Where are we at? I just read a bit about how Pomsy won the troll, yeah. Scott saying he would do miniature painting streams, but don't think my painting skills are up to much and don't fancy the negative comments.
Doesn't matter, mate.
No, I was just going to say that my painting is definitely not up to much, mate. And I just don't really care if anybody doesn't like it. If you don't like it, there are many other channels to watch. Like you don't have to watch me painting bad. And to be fair, I don't think anybody tunes into the streams to see the quality of my painting. I think they probably don't even watch the screen. They're probably sitting painting anyway and just listening to the chat and stuff like that. So it's just about having a bit of fun, mate. If you enjoy it, it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter. Somebody else will enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely. I learned that pretty quickly doing this stuff, the little bits I do on Instagram, and the best conversations I've had on there haven't even been painting related.
No,
Like,
it's just the painting just happened. The painting's what brings you together in the same place, kind of thing, isn't it?
Absolutely. I spoke about toilet roll with Joe from Terrain, Encounter Terrain, or whatever it is. That was funny. I spoke to him about that for about an hour. Go figure. And then I spoke to a lad the other day, I can't remember his tag, but about wrestling for like, I don't know how it even came up, but I'm a huge pro wrestling fan.
Yeah.
Sort of ridiculously huge pro wrestling fan, and it kind of came up, and then he was like, "Oh, I was supposed to be going to WrestleMania," and I was like, "What?" And he was like, "Yes, well, I love wrestling." And I was like, "What? I've been watching wrestling since like '87." And he was like, "Yeah, I've been watching it since we're all at the same time."
Wow.
And it was just weird because like got into a conversation that was in not obviously what he'd come onto the live for, but it was weird. So yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about being the best in the world.
Nah.
I did at first, man. To be honest, you worry about whether people are gonna like listen to you and stuff. But now I can't say that I care too much to be to be brutally honest with you.
No, do you know what it is? That's half the battle, isn't it? Just being able to distance yourself from the kind of like, because there's always going to be somebody's going to have a whinge, I suppose.
Absolutely.
But you know, you can't do anything about that. You can't change what they think about it. So, and if they've got enough time to come and watch your stuff and then take extra time to tell you how much they didn't enjoy it, that's more about them than it is about you, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I set up a dedicated thing for me painting, like for me models.
Yeah.
So I have a dedicated Instagram for me models. So if people are on there, that's what they're there for.
Yeah.
So if they want to chat about that, they can chat about that. If they're not, then they don't have to. It's fine. I don't really mind.
No, exactly.
Just go for it.
Where are we at? John Francie, and I'm sure Al singing Rick Astley is one of the harbingers of the apocalypse.
I'm not having that. Like, I'm not going to stand for that. That's not fair.
Everyone's talking about the orcs and stuff like that. That I was saying that I couldn't remember what the hell I had. And Scott's saying, yeah, he's ex-infantry, made 3 operational tours under his belt, 2 in Iraq, 1 in Afghanistan. I thought I remembered you saying that, mate.
Well done, mate. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
It's not easy. A lot of my friends are rifles and the Royal Engineers and stuff.
It was when you mentioned about doing the kind of the bushcraft stuff and that, mate. That was when it reminded me that you'd spent a bit of time in the military. Palmsy says, no, you know what I mean. You're both better painters than me. That was when he was basically just slagging off our painting, mate, and just saying that it's a good job our banter was all right because we've got nothing else going for us, basically.
Yeah, it's a good job we're not playing one of those online games that people lose at all the time, isn't it? It's a 100% losing record that he's got.
That's it, like... Dirk saying that it's definitely not for the quality of your paint job, Andy. Thank you, Dirk. At least I know where my level is, mate. Thanks.
Yeah. That's why I haven't got a camera on mine. You see, I was clever enough. I can take the stick about me bald head.
To be honest, though, even my poor painting looks better than my face. So that's why I've gone for that. Yeah. Pomsy said he was thinking earlier about brands and celebs doing good things in bad times and getting slated for self-interest. I think the end result is what matters. I think what's happened is there's a fine line, isn't there, basically? And I think there's not a lot of news at the minute. So basically, what happens is it's dead easy to like pick up on something and criticize it, because that's what the internet is now, isn't it? It's basically just criticize stuff. And unfortunately, at the minute, people are trying to do nice things, and it's just easy to criticize them. That's
too easy, I think. Sometimes.
Yeah, but I think you're right, Paul. I think it's at the end of the day, it is the kind of it's the end result, really. If, regardless of what the reason they're doing it for, if some good comes out of it, then how bad can it be, really? Well, I've just completely balls that up. The colour I decided to pick for that highlight was way too light.
What are you on paint now? Is that the coat? Is that what are you doing now?
The kind of trousers, like
right.
He's got like shorts on or something. I've just kind of, so what I'll do is I'll just
red looks cool as hell, mate.
The red looks pretty good. I like painting red, to be fair. I always quite enjoy painting red. I don't know why. Reds and blues, I'm all right at.
Yeah.
So I did, however, forget to highlight his tail. So I have to go back and do that now. Well, Marco said he's just realised Krabby Vision is Alan.
Yeah, sorry, mate.
There you go, mate.
Same guy. I did change my name on everything, just because it was confusing me, to be quite honest. I've not got that many brain cells, and it was confusing me.
One thing at a time, eh?
Yeah.
Standard tabletop says, got as far as I can with Black Seas now, so on to Mythic Battles Pantheon. Nice work, mate. Nice work. Scott's... where are we at there? Sorry. Scott said he's X-rifles he self-made, both 3 and 5 rifles. Any tips on painting yellow, he says. Yes. I always used to use, until they stopped doing that glaze stuff. So have I got it in front of me here? GW used to do this glaze and they don't do it anymore now. Lamenter's yellow.
No, it's because Valrak's got 400 pots of it or something.
Yeah, I would imagine it's like it was like magic, basically. So what you would do is you'd paint Avalon Sunset, and then you would basically dry brush with Hexos Pale Sun, and then wash over the top with Lamenter's yellow, and it all just pulled together lovely. It was really, really nice. But they've stopped doing that glaze now since the contrast paints come out.
What sort of colour yellow are you after, though? Because there's different sort of tones of yellow, I guess.
Yeah, because that one's got a bit of a greeny sort of tinge to it, I think.
Because I paint it using Avalon Sunset, and then I lighten the Avalon Sunset with I haven't got it here, but there's a Vallejo, like a bright yellow, and I progressively lighten the Avalon with that, and then I get like the I can't remember what the yellow's called, but the bright yellow, and use it as a glaze at the end as well, and that works quite well.
Yeah, I've not tried any of the yellow contrast paints to see what they're like.
No, I've not heard good things about some of them. It's really put us off using them, but then other ones I hear really good things about.
The contrast paints are really good if you use them kind of in the right way. Like they can give you some really, really good finishes. In the same way, like a wash can give you a good finish if you use it in the right way.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of washes. Like, I think they add a depth that's really hard to achieve with just paint.
I'm just laughing there. Pomsy saying he's off to mini war gaming where the real pros are and I don't get abuse. Tiberius says Andy should get some orcs. The red ones go faster. Yes, mate. Yes, they do. I don't know what it is. I think everybody's got like their crush colours. And mine's definitely blue and red. And I always have a lot of browns in my models as well. I wouldn't say I necessarily have like a style, if you like, but I do tend to fall back to my old favourites.
I really like painting white, bizarrely. I don't know why. Everyone else seems to think it's a nightmare, but I quite like it.
White. Yeah. I tend to... Stormtroopers is about all I've painted white, to be fair.
Quite like it. It's just quite good. It's one of them ones where you have to sort of do multiple layers and stuff, but it's a nice colour to paint, I think.
Mark was
Is it a
saying,
colour? Is it a colour?
yeah, it's an absence of colour, white, but it's still a colour, isn't it? Marco says the Vallejo Sun Yellow is awesome.
I think that's the one I was talking about. Yeah.
I don't use a lot of Vallejo paints, to be fair. I keep meaning to kind of pick more up really and try and do a bit more with them. James Zorm saying he's currently using Iandon yellow contrast on some squigs. I'll post it to Facebook later. Thank you, mate.
Yeah,
Be
cool.
good to see, because I haven't actually seen anything yellow with the contrast paints, I don't think.
Did you buy all the contrast paints, Andy, or did you just get a couple, mate?
I just bought a couple, to be honest. I bought like 2 or 3 to try them. So the ones I bought originally was the contrast Gulliman Flesh.
Yeah.
I bought the Blanket Templar one, and I bought the Basilicum Grey, and I liked those ones.
Yeah.
The skin colour one, the contrast one for the Gulliman Flesh is really good.
Yeah, that gets a lot of praise. Apparently, it's excellent.
And then I've bought things. I've got the Skeleton Horde one that I did my Bone Reapers with. I've bought the Aethermatic Blue, which I really love for kind of like weird magical flame type things. Yeah. It always looks really good.
Yeah, that looks cool.
And I've got the green one as well. What's that one called? The Orc Flesh. But I don't think I'm overly sort of. I don't think it's great. I don't love that one quite so much.
Did you put it over like one of the spray paints that they suggest, or did you just?
I did.
Primer on?
I did when I did the Bone Reapers, but normally I use a Ghost Grey Vallejo primer, and I find that's just as good, to be fair. It gives us.
I wondered if you kind of based it, if you used, because the green I've seen goes really see through on the lighter coloured.
Does it?
Primers. So I wonder if you based it green and then painted over it. I wonder if it would work better that way.
I might try it again, because I think
if you did a Vallejo or an Army Painter green primer or something.
Tell you what, let me see if I can spin around here. I think it might be behind me, something I painted with them. If I can find it in my drawer, because all my little models are basically tucked away in my drawers here. I think, it was these ones. So one of these AOS Oaks, that's the green from the contrast paint, and it does give it. I mean, that's just the green. I haven't done any shading or anything on it. That's the finish. It's the finish it gives you, but it's quite a bright green. That was all. It almost looked a little bit kind of unnatural. I think it needs hitting with like a dull coat. Some of the washes around the feet and that were a bit shiny, but. Yeah, the green was just a bit bright. I think
you could put that Koala green shade or whatever it is, that shade that they do over the top of it might dull it down a little bit.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, but I mean,
is that yellow in contrast as well?
No, that's the yellow. Is the the iron and sun and the glaze thing over the top. Yeah. Mark's just saying there, black is the absence of colour, white is the presence of all colours. One of the only things I remember from GCSE art. Yeah, I think I got it wrong. I think I said the opposite. You know, when you just stare at something and you're thinking...
I've just done that like 2 minutes ago. Yeah. Just sat there, caught myself staring at me.
What am I going to do? What am I actually going to do with this now? I just kind of like ran out of like, what the hell am I supposed to be doing now?
Do you get the fish guy in that box set? You know the blue.
You do, mate. Yeah, the what's he called again? Ape Sapien.
Ape Sapien, that's it.
You do, mate. Yeah, you get all sorts in. I mean, if you're into the kind of the comic books and stuff, the graphic novels, all them characters from there are in them and stuff. Like
I've read a couple of them, but I've never read loads.
People like Lobster Johnson and Roger the Homunculus and people like that that are not really in the films, but they are in the. Although, have you seen the new Hellboy film, the latest one?
Yeah.
So you know, Lobster Johnson's the guy like when it goes back to World War II and is like the kind of like superhero guy who almost comes around. And,
yeah.
So that's Lobster Johnson, and he's quite a big thing in the comics. So that was a bit
of
like
that little part at the beginning of the film, hasn't he?
Yeah, that kind of like it was like a little fanboy nod, I think, basically.
Yeah, and everyone else is looking at it going, "Why is there a lobster-based superhero?"
Yeah, why is there a guy with a lobster symbol? Like, what the hell's the point in that? But yeah, that's what that was. So how long have I been painting now? Couple of hours I've been painting now, or been chatting anyway. And I have to say, I'm a big fan of this red grass painting handle. It is really comfy on my hand, and it's just being able to just give it a little kind of twist rather than having to sort of just turn the whole thing in my hand. So thank you, Christian. I'm a big fan of it, mate. Cheers. Right. Where are we up to? We've got Adam Edgar in, says, "Good day, legends. How you doing, Adam? Nice to see you, fella." Mark saying, "Abe, yes, just come to me there." Mark saying, Mark SG, I should say, we've got a couple of marks in. Mark SG says, "Army paint a soft tone over the green gives it a flesh look and dulls it down." I'll have to try that, mate.
Is that the ready one? The soft tone? Is that the one with like the red hues in?
It probably is, yeah, because the strong tones are the much darker ones, aren't
black, yeah, that's a blacker one, right? Yeah.
Scott says, "I might look at Hellboy game, don't know much about it, to be honest." It's pretty cool, mate, to be fair. It's pretty cool. You can play it solo, you can play it up to 4 players, I think it is. But yeah, it's basically co-op, so you're playing against the kind of like the monsters are all AI controlled. It's like a dungeon crawler, really, and there's like case files in it, like secret case files. So you don't know what you're gonna come up against when you go into different rooms and stuff, and it's all computer sort of generated. Not computer, all artificially kind of generated. So even if you play the same mission again, things will probably come out in different orders and give you a different kind of different story. But yeah, it's good, mate. It's good. I backed the Kickstarter, and I actually was part of the playtest team as well originally when Mantic were doing it, and so it was the first book I got my name in.
That's cool.
So my name's in the front of the book, which was quite a nice little thing. I still had to buy the game. I still had to buy the game, mind. I didn't get it for free.
But
what? All that time, and I still did that. But no, it was like a nice little thing. Just one of those little geek things they got off the wish list kind of thing. Get my name in a rule book, even if it was just play testing.
That's really cool.
Right, what do I want to do with this now? I feel like I want to highlight up the jacket, but I'm not sure what I want to do it with. I put a brown wash over it before to try and darken it down, so I might just try bringing it back up with the original brown and see if that's a start. Mark Berracloth saying his name's in there as well. It is, mate. Trust you to be a Berracloth, which makes you alphabetically slightly higher up the pecking order than I was. But yeah, it was nice, mate. Nice to see like some familiar names in the book there, wasn't it? Where are we at?
Army paint are doing hand sanitizer now.
Don't know if this is genuine or not. It is genuine, mate. I don't know if they've stopped making paints, but what they are doing is they're utilising their machines to fill hand sanitizer into the bottles, and they're giving it away to some local schools and stuff as well first, for when the schools reopen, so that they've got plenty of hand sanitizer and stuff.
I've seen that Nike had changed some of their facilities in the States to make the face masks. The coolest looking face visors you've ever seen.
Oh god!
They look like the Nike Ray-Ban type of things with the straps on the back and they're like the little pull toggle. They look like them. They were so cool, but they were a full face sheet.
Brilliant. Trust Nike. They couldn't just sort of do it quick and fast. They had to design them and
probably.
Yeah.
It's cool though.
Nah, it is cool, like, isn't it?
Really cool.
It is cool that these companies are doing stuff like and putting themselves to use.
Yeah, well, like they were saying, like some of these people, like the machines and stuff, make this stuff anyway. Really, it's just made in a slightly different way and for a slightly different purpose. So it's not really that much of a hassle for most of them to change their stuff over. It's
amazing how many companies are kind of like have managed to change their equipment. Like I saw BrewDog had changed all the like their bottle filling machines and stuff so they're shipping hand sanitizer out in like BrewDog bottles.
Yeah.
Like glass bottles and stuff like that. So they've obviously got a load of bottles, but
collectors in years to come. We'll be all over them.
Yeah. And they're another company basically that's had a bit of flack for stuff over the years, for doing different bits and pieces, but at least they're kind of, they're not doing what Wetherspoons did, that's for sure anyway. Wetherspoons been getting a bit of flack, haven't they?
What did Wetherspoons do? I missed that. I don't
So
really watch that much telly, to be honest.
So essentially, Wetherspoons basically were telling everybody, like, when they were saying, like, trying to advise people to stay at home, Wetherspoons were basically saying, you should still go to the pub and get yourself out there and all this kind of stuff. And then essentially they told all of their staff, basically, they'd pay them so much, like, they'd pay them full wages for so long, when the pub's closed. And then I think basically they changed their mind and basically just laid loads of them off.
Wow. Was this the 0 hours contract thing?
I think there was some of that, yeah. Some of it was 0 hours contracts, and some of it was about, I think it was essentially like, when the government was saying that you could be like furloughed and stuff, and it'll basically, I think what they sent a letter out basically to their staff just saying, we're not furloughing you, we're laying everybody off, and if you're not happy with it, go and get a job at Tesco's basically. And this was like in an official communication basically.
Wow.
So they've been taking a bit of flack.
I hope people will remember these companies that are doing this sort of thing, and kind of, I don't think they should get sort of verbal abuse or anything for it, but they should be like, I'm not going to be buying any products of certain companies that I've noticed doing, in my opinion, nefarious sorts of things. So I hope moving forward, I hope people do that and kind of, as a nation, support the people that have done nice things,
Yeah. Well, it was like there was something in the paper the other day about EasyJet. So basically, they've asked the government for $600 billion loan or something. But like the week before, they just paid out something like £175 million in shareholder bonuses.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah, some weird stuff going on, mate.
Anyway,
I know. I wasn't all serious, didn't it? Luke Pryor. I was just about to read your question there, Luke, but I realised this jumped up and there's loads of chat I've missed. Adam says, I have my name in the front of a fiction novel in the thank you section. I thought that was pretty cool. That is pretty cool, mate. Parsifal says, Pendragon Miniatures are making face masks for local services as well. That's good. It's nice. I've seen a few people, there's a guy locally as well, who's like using his 3D printer to print off a lot of the face mask kind of holder things and screens and stuff like that, which is pretty cool to see people doing it. Scott says there's sort of few famous gamers in tonight. I wouldn't call me famous, mate, for having my name in that rule. There was a lot of people who had their name in that rule book. I was just one of them. Luke was saying, what IP would you really love to see in a miniatures game?
Somebody said a mask in the comments, which is brilliant. Brilliant shout.
Do you know what? Look, I'm a massive like horror fan, and I would love to see some kind of like horror franchise.
Did they do a Silent Hill thing at some point?
Do you know what? I don't think they did. Silent Hill would be awesome.
Oh, I thought they had done that already.
The Resident Evil board game's been done.
Oh, maybe it was that.
Which was pretty decent, to be fair. There was a few little things, a few niggles I wasn't overly keen on, but that were more aesthetic looks of things. The minis were a bit small in general, and the tiles were quite dark to look at. But the game itself was good.
That's my pet hate normally when they do an IP-based thing, is that like even the Star Wars stuff, like some of the infantry models just look too small. Like I want loads of detail. give me 6 foot tall miniatures with loads of detail, please.
But what I think I'd quite like to I'd quite like to see something horror, like, but it would have to be a franchise which has like a lot of like a Hellraiser type thing, with all the Cenobites and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Where like, I think something like that could work quite well. But yeah, Army of Darkness maybe. Go for Ash and the Undead maybe. So yeah, something like that, Luke. I think. What about you, mate? Have you got something that you'd like to see? Tim Kelly says Wetherspoons can get in the bin. Yes, I would not disagree, mate. Marcos says the company he works for makes the COVID-19 diagnostic kits. We support the research for vaccines and help with clinical trials. Busy times. It feels good to contribute. Yeah, I bet it does, mate. It's nice to see kind of like sort of people being able to be able to say that they work for a company that's like doing their bit as well. Like it's
absolutely
it's nice, man. Where are we at? Yeah, John Francis and Weatherspoons were a disgrace. I'll never drink in one of their pubs again. Yeah, so some of the stuff that got leaked out about that was horrendous because it was all official. Like I went to their staff and that, but it obviously wasn't meant to be for public consumption really. But obviously it all got leaked out. Where are we at? He-Man would be a good shout. Yeah, I can imagine like a lot of the kind of old comic books and stuff because you've got companies like Steamforge who obviously have a lot of ties with people like Capcom and stuff. So they've done the Devil May Cry stuff, they've done the Resident Evil stuff, they've done what was the other one they did? Horizon Zero Dawn. They did the Dark Souls. So a lot of those kind of computer game stuff like tends to come from them. But yeah, it's.
I always thought Power Rangers would make a good mini game.
I think the problem with certain stuff is you need lots of characters, don't you?
Yeah.
Well, because I remember when Mantic did the Here's Negan board game, one thing that they worried about was basically that everybody. I've just realised I've been probably painting off camera for about 20 minutes there. Everybody would want to be Negan, and like so how do you basically like control it? And but yeah, you need, and I think Starship Troopers was a good license, but then basically what happened was like you've got the soldiers and you've got the bugs, like that was it. Like where do you go? Like what's wave 2? Like so, I think there's a bit of that goes on as well.
I was watching something about that the other day on the telly about how that came about and stuff.
I think I watched exactly the same thing on YouTube.
Yeah.
It must have been recommended to me.
Oh yeah, I think that might have been on YouTube even.
Yeah.
Have you watched that the Toys That Made Us on Netflix?
Yeah, I love that, mate. When it goes back and tells you all about He-Man and My
So
Little
good.
Pony and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so good, that program.
I know. I watched it. I think it was for the Star Wars toys originally, but then I went back and watched all the other episodes.
So I watched it for the wrestling figures because I've got loads of old wrestling figures. I've still got them actually. I need to put them in my shed. But I've got a load of the old WCW Galoob ones.
Oh
and
yeah.
I knew some of them were worth a decent amount of money. I mean, I played with mine, they're all bashed to bits, so they're not going to be worth any money, but I was just interested to see what they were. And it's amazing how much some of them figures are worth. Like, and the really irritating thing about it is I had pretty much every single one of them. Like, there's one that's worth a small fortune. It's I don't know if anybody's a wrestling fan, but it's Greg the Hammer Valentine wearing he was in a tag team with Honky Tonk Man called the Rhythm and Blues, and it's probably where I got my singing voice from. But he had a white jacket on, and I had that model. I had that toy, and now in mint condition, it's worth an absolute fortune apparently. But yeah, that's slightly irritating. But it's a great show, that Toys That Made Us. Like, me and my last sat and watched the whole lot. It was really good.
Yeah, I loved it. It's a bit like me with Star Wars toys. I had loads of Star Wars toys when I was younger, and there was a little shop at the end of my street that basically, when Star Wars wasn't quite so cool anymore, like sort of in that era between Return of the Jedi and kind of the newer ones coming out.
Yeah.
There was like a little shop at the end of my street where I lived that were like basically selling all the figures off in like a big bin, like 50 pence a figure.
Wow.
So I'd bought up like loads of the ones that I hadn't had when I was kind of a little bit younger. I mean, I was probably still only about 10 or something like that, like 9 or 10 at the time, but I bought up loads of the other ones with pocket money and stuff. And eventually I gave them all away to to a girlfriend I had at the time. I gave them to her younger brother to play with. And there was like a Millennium Falcon was there was X-Wings, there was all sorts of stuff. And yeah, I really wish I hadn't.
Yeah, I found about 10 years ago in a toy shop in the Lake District in Bowness actually. I found in a little bargain bin an old battered WWF figure, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, still on its card, and I bought it for 50 pence, and I've still got it upstairs. It's not worth out. But it's upstairs.
It's worth 35 pence now. You lost money.
Yeah.
It's funny though, isn't it? Like these days, I think people do look at stuff like that now, don't they? Like when I was a kid, nobody ever bought toys thinking they were going to be worth anything in the future.
No, absolutely not.
Where
People buy them up now, the Funkos and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So people buy them and leave them in boxes and never touch them.
I was just saying to one of the lads yesterday, we were playing that Modern Warfare, and he was saying his Funkos are getting a bit ridiculous. And I says, how many have you got? He says, I'm over 500 now.
Oh, jeez.
It's like, what? He was like, yeah. He orders them from France and everything because they get like limited models.
Yeah.
And he gets them from all over the place. I was like, mate, that's mental. He was like, yeah, I need to calm down a bit.
I've got a few, but I don't think I've bought any myself. There've been things that people have bought me, like for Christmas gifts and birthdays and stuff. Like just as in, like I've got no idea what to buy him. Let me just he's into geeky stuff. Let's get him one of them kind of thing.
Yeah.
So then I've getting a few over time.
Yeah,
so
I've got a couple.
But yeah, I couldn't imagine like investing the kind of money that like they're about a tenner each, aren't they? So you got if you got 500, and some of them will be expensive because he obviously bought limited edition stuff.
Yeah.
That's just a different.
That's what I said to him. I said, I've got better things to do with $5,500.
Holy crap, man! I have seen that like there's a website busy that basically values them, isn't it? That tells you which ones are the expensive ones.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, and like there's some proper like random ones, like a little bit like like there's a certain Joker one that basically has a slightly different colour jacket or something that was only available for like 2 weeks or something at a certain place in the world.
John Francis just mentioned Subbuteo. Oh, I played that to death.
I had Subbuteo when I was a kid as well.
Oh my god. I bugs me mum and dad to get us the Newcastle shirted players, and I played it to death. Like, to death.
I used to go. I remember. So the place where I first got any kind of Warhammer miniatures, and they were like Blood Bowl figures or something. I think I remember buying was a shop called Joseph's Toy Shop in Sunderland, and that was where I used to buy my Subbuteo stuff from. There, I used to have like proper like a display thing with like the proper stadium and all the stands and everything in it and stuff.
Nice.
God, yeah. John Francis saying, "Isn't there a Funko board game now?" There's a few Funko board games, mate. So there's a Batman Funko board game. There is a Golden Girls Funko board game.
What? What is that?
Exactly, yeah. There's a Batman Funko one. There's a Back to the Future one coming soon. And essentially, I think the games are meant to be pretty decent, to be fair. But I think they all work together as well. So you can have like Batman versus the Golden Girls. So yeah, there you go, mate. The world really has come to an end. It's nothing to do with the virus. Crazy. It's just the fact that there's a Golden Girls Funko Pop.
Subbuteo was brilliant. I used to we'd fold the mat up and then I'd spend like 20 minutes trying to press the creases out of it so that the ball would actually go along the thing, because I didn't have anywhere big enough to play it, like to keep it. And then eventually I got my dad to try and stick it to a piece of wood, and then it went in the shed and never seen the light of day again. Oh,
yeah, well, that's what happens, isn't it?
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Where we got? Somebody saying, "I'll never forget your 40." Pusey saying to Pomsy, "I'll never forget your 14th birthday party in Wetherspoons. Mad night that was." Scott saying, "Subbuteo is still available."
Wow.
Marco saying, "Funkoverse, kids love it. They've got Batman and Harry Potter." Yeah, there's a Harry Potter one. There's a Jaws expansion coming as well. Christian saying he can't find. Oh, Christian is saying to Pomsy, the one with the working bell on the side. I wonder what that was.
The blue ring.
He's talking about the wrestling ring.
Yeah, mate, the blue ones. One of them, I think there was one released where it had like extra accessories, and then the previous one to that didn't have the stuff. I had the one with the little belt holder on the side and stuff. But me and my brother, like we went through so many, it was ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
Christian saying he can't remember the year. He's from the era of Andre the Giant, Jake the Snake Robertson, Hulk Hogan. Can't remember when I got the ring, but the cage accessories as well.
Yeah, I'll tell you what though, right? If people liked that sort of wrestling from back in the 80s, early 90s stuff, AEW now that's just started is that style of wrestling again. So it's definitely worth a watch. Very good. I'm obsessed though, so don't listen to me.
John Francis, Batman versus the Golden Girls. That's not a video I'd want to see. Well, I've got some time on my hands now, mate. Apparently, it's quite hard to get a hold of them. I think they sell relatively well. I'm not sure about the Golden Girls selling relatively well, but the Funko board games, I think, are sell quite well. Homsey says biggest memory was when Hulk Hogan and Sergeant Slaughter did the whole Iraq War thing. Mind blown at that age. Wow. Craig's asking, have you looked at Rumble Slam?
I have looked at it a couple of times, yeah, actually.
Yeah.
I was looking at they do I can't remember what company it was or whether it was Rumble Slam themselves, but they do a cool little MDF ring thing.
Yeah, it's TT Combat who do the game.
Yeah. So I did look at it, and with the idea of painting it exactly how I wanted my other rings, then I just thought, no, I'm chasing something else there, aren't I? The amount of times I've looked online for one of those blue rings to just buy and have in me cupboard somewhere. Nuts.
Just to see you have one.
Yeah, they go for good money now though as well. The
Do
decent
they?
edition ones, yeah. Some of the figures are just nuts on eBay and stuff.
It's that generation of coming round again, isn't it? Where you, like a little bit like Star Wars things were probably not that long ago. Like that kind of a generation of like older guys coming around after buying them as a kid and lusting after them.
Yeah, I think so. And
Wanting their
like I
childhood
was
back.
saying before, my daughter wrestles now. So
Oh yeah.
so the kind of that's weird because like I didn't like force her into it, and I think I didn't say you need to wrestle because I love wrestling.
You're on my way out of
She,
this.
yeah, she kind of she started just training in a wrestling gym, and she now wrestles with those guys, and she's been on like training sessions with WWE guys and stuff, and
That's amazing.
yeah, she's pretty good at it as well. But she'll sit and we watch like wrestling from the 80s and stuff, and she knows more about it than me. So she'll say, "Oh, Daddy made a mistake there," or "Dad, did you see that?" And now I'm like, "Hannah, I don't want to watch this with you anymore because you
you,
ruin it."
you're
Like,
ruining my dreams.
I don't want to know that he tripped over there and that was a botch. Like, I just want to watch the wrestling.
um, where are we at? Yeah, Craig's saying he's really into AEW at the minute.
Yes, good man.
John Francis said he's obsessed with Subbuteo back in the day. In fact, I learned modelling from gluing them back into their bases, always snapping them off.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Luke saying Rumble Slam's a great game. Yeah, I've got it as well, Luke. It's a pretty nice little kind of fun, simple game, and they do some nice alternative models as well. Have you seen like the Macho Man Randy Savage? I think he's got a different name. He's called like Sandy Ravage or something like that.
Sandy Ravage.
So I might have made that up, but
dear.
that's a good name to be fair. And then there's like
that sounds great.
there's an Undertaker model and stuff like that as well, like basically with a slightly different name. But yeah, there's some cool little models.
Some of the models are awesome. I have checked it out a few times, to be fair.
Barry Kleiber says, honest truth, my dad was a professional wrestler in the US in the 50s and 60s named the Flying Dutchman.
No
Barry,
way.
that's amazing, mate. What an
cool,
absolute
man.
legend of a story that is. There we are. Pomsey says, has AEW got storylines though, Al? He watches all the WWE
absolutely.
every week.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I like it. It's WWE's been horrendous for a long time now, but I do feel like I'm kind of hijacking Andy's miniature live stream to talk about wrestling.
No,
But,
knock yourself out, mate.
yeah, no,
Knock yourself.
it's very much gone back to kind of trying to tell stories and build characters, which for me is the entertaining part of it. So, yeah, it's definitely worth a watch, and some of the stuff they're doing in it's very, very good as well. Like from an entertainment point of view,
Yeah.
character wise, it's fantastic.
VG was saying, Hellboy looking good there, Andy. It would be if I could keep it on the screen, mate. I keep getting distracted and just forgetting that I'm actually painting for people to watch as well. It's getting there, mate. I think it's been quite nice actually just painting one miniature from start to finish instead of trying to batch stuff. It's been a nice little change of pace. How's yours getting on, Al?
Yeah, mate, getting there. I've done about half a dozen guys, pretty much.
Half a dozen. Bloody
Yeah.
hell. Yeah, I'm a notoriously slow painter.
I'm terribly slow, but when I say I've done half a dozen guys, I mean I've painted their shoulder pads and their knee pads.
Oh, well, in that
That's
case,
it.
I might not feel so bad now, then, mate.
That's it, mate. Yeah.
VG is back. I forgot you'd be away and come back, mate. It's just to feel that you've been there all the time. Luke said he's called Rando Salvage. That's what he's called.
Rando Salvage. That's great.
Because VG has just come back anyway, and how the hell do we get into wrestling?
Because I'm here. That's why.
Kieran said, if you want to do anything, literally anything 80s, look into Game 7 TV. Look into the Game 7 TV by Crooked Dice, Batman versus Dastardly and Muttley versus G.I. Joe. I've heard about that game, mate, yeah. And they do a lot of minis as well, don't they, for it? So you can buy some kind of like Thunderbirds minis and obviously kind of non-IP infringing Thunderbirds minis and stuff. But yeah, there's some cool stuff from that 7TV. I think it's essentially basically the game is based upon it's in a film studio, so you're playing the game while something's being filmed, if you like, the TV show, and then you're kind of acting out the episodes of the TV show, if you like, while playing the game. So it's a bit of a weird thing.
It's an interesting concept, that, because you could literally put anything you wanted in it, then, couldn't you?
And that's the thing, basically, it's if you can find minis, like if you fancy doing Scooby Doo or something like that, or whatever it is, you can make it work for you. So I think that they've basically set it up so that it's because it's this TV thing that you can basically do whatever you like, and then the rules are there to try and make it work.
Yeah.
Scott says it's been an interesting live stream tonight. Really enjoyed the cooperative live chat. Yeah, it's
good. I'm glad.
Palmsy said it's been nice joining the Mac lads tonight. The Mac lads. There's a bit of a flashback. Tim says, Krabby, do you play Rumble Slam? I think you said you've looked at it, but you've not played it, mate, have you?
Yeah, no, I've never played it, mate. I would like the opportunity to have a go. I'd probably have a go at some point.
Yeah. I think they've just brought out a new version, an updated version of the rules, I think. So just to kind of tidy it up a little bit, and because your wrestlers fight for a casino, so you choose the casino that you fight for, and
right.
and then it's obviously like fantasy stuff as well, like so you have like orcs and goblins and undead and all that kind of stuff in it as well. So
that sounds really cool. I'll definitely have a look into it. Is that one of the things where you can pick up like the rules to online, or is that like would you have to get a book or something?
I think you have to get the book, mate. But when we get out of lockdown, mate, I've got it. You're more than welcome to have a game of it, or even borrow it for a bit if you want to play it.
Oh, it
sits in my cupboard, not getting played, like a lot of my games. So might as well share the love.
Yeah, I'll definitely have a go of it. Like, see what the crack is.
But yeah, if you buy the starter box, you get like a neoprene mat for the ring.
Oh, right.
So it's got all the little squares marked out and the turnbuckles and stuff like that. Yeah. But the MDF rings are actually not that expensive, and they're really cool as well.
Yeah, they look cool.
And they've just released a new one now that basically is like a storage box for everything, so it all fits in the bottom of the ring, all the tokens and all the bits.
Yeah, I think that's the one the lad had on the video I was watching, and he. What I really liked about it was the climbing the turnbuckle stuff and all that sort of jazz. Yeah, was really cool.
Jumping off, you can bounce off the ropes and stuff like that as well, and go
really cool.
Super power across it. Where's in? Scott says Studio Miniatures do a Scooby and the Gang set for post-apocalyptic games in 28mm. My son's obsessed with their Scooby Doo at the minute after watching a cartoon on telly. Luke saying Rumble Slam plays far more like a board game. Yeah, it does, mate. It kind of feels a bit like Blood Bowl to me, with that kind of like the moving squares across the board and stuff, and being the right location, if you like, to do the kind of the special moves and stuff like that. Peter said, did someone mention the Golden Girls? Scott says the Troll Trader are the creator of Rumble Slam. They are, mate. Yeah, they've got quite a few games under their belt now. Troll Trader do. What's it called again? Is it Carnival or Carnivali, or however you pronounce it? That kind of the one that's a little bit like a mythos set in Venice type thing. It's pretty cool. Nice minis. Well, I feel like I'm just pushing paint around on this now. I don't think I'm really actually achieving much with it now. I think I'm pretty much done as far as board game pieces.
It's looking really cool, that, mate. Love it.
I'm quite happy with how it's turned out. Yeah. Probably way too much effort for board game pieces, but nice to do it on the stream.
Hey.
Let me just do this bit. Palmsy says, at one point I thought of writing rules for a game to be played with actual wrestling figures.
Brilliant idea.
But obviously you didn't do it. But yeah, I think you could definitely do that, mate. You could definitely do something like that. I mean, that's exactly how I've got is it called Heroica, which is like a board game with Lego pieces that I remember buying from like my older lads years ago, and I found it in the garage when I was having a clear out recently, and I've been playing it with my young one. It's essentially like Hero Quest with like Lego pieces. So you set the board up, which the rooms are basically different bits of Lego, and you kind of roll a dice and move around and battle these bad guys. It's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, that sounds good as well.
Scott's saying to do some of the horror characters like Jason, Freddy, Michael Myers, and even the A-Team. So I'm going to have to check these out now. You've basically just kind of like recited my 80s childhood there.
I was watching the A-Team the other day. I love it.
What's it like to go back? Has it held up, or is it absolutely awful?
Absolutely, no, absolutely, mate. There's cringy bits in it, but no, it's absolutely held up. It's good. If I'm watching telly, it's normally all this stuff. So Auf Wiedersehen Pet, watched that back a couple of weeks ago.
Oh.
From start to finish.
I remember watching. My memories of watching Auf Wiedersehen Pet was, when I was a kid, there was a guy lived over the road, who he'd be obviously been divorced, and his son lived with the mum, and he used to come and stay over on a weekend.
Right.
So he would come over on a Friday. I would go over to their house. His dad would buy a Chinese takeaway, and we would sit and watch Auf Wiedersehen Pet like dead late. Like it was on like 10:30 at night or something, wasn't it? It was obviously well past my bedtime, but yeah, it was just that's my memories of watching Auf Wiedersehen Pet as a kid.
Don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah, probably. I'm trying to remember how old I was though. I probably was like, let me think. I was probably only about 10, man, to be fair, 9 or 10.
Yeah. I was watching, so we watched that, and then we quite often, like, if in the moments where there's nothing really on the TV, we tend to stick like Only Fools or something on in the background, you know.
Happy days, mate. I was asking in the Facebook group the other day, like TV recommendations, because me and my wife watch a lot of like Amazon or Netflix box sets and stuff like that, because we kind of like to get into like one particular series and watch it all the way through before we kind of start watching something else.
Yeah.
But we'd kind of exhausted stuff. We'd run out of stuff to watch. So.
Yeah, we do that a little bit. Like if we are watching TV, if I'm sitting with my missus, it tends to be a series. Like we're kind of finishing off Orange is the New Black. We've got some Walking Dead there that I've built up because we haven't watched a lot of telly recently.
We haven't always got the same taste though when it comes to TV.
No, we haven't.
Trying to get something we'll both watch is sometimes hard, not as easy said than done. That's what I was trying to think of.
That's kind of how we ended up watching Orange is the New Black, because I was just like, oh, for God's sake, pick something. And that's what we went with.
Right, folks, this is where I screw it up by trying to paint eyes. So I'm just flopping some yellow into his eye sockets, and then I'll tidy up the red rounded. So when you see me butchering this, please don't cry.
Everybody put in the comments that Andy's butchering his eyes.
What have you done with bung-eyed Hellboy?
Which way is he looking?
One eye's looking at me, one eye's looking for me. Yeah, I'll tidy it up with a bit of red now. This is why I tend to just wash minis rather than paint them with any kind of detail. Luke says, have you watched Hunters? That's the one with what's he called? Al Pacino in, isn't it? About Nazi hunters. I've seen it advertised, but I've not watched it yet. Is it good, Luke? Is it worth a watch?
I watched that the other week.
Is it good?
Yeah, it was all right. Yeah, it was a bit. I thought it was a bit slow, but yeah, it was all right.
We started just watching something called Magicians, which feels like High School Musical for like slightly older teenagers.
Right.
It's on Amazon at the minute, but it's like what I kind of looked was there was like 5 seasons of it, and I thought how bad can it be? There's 5 seasons.
Yeah,
like, it obviously got recommissioned. It can't be that bad, but yeah, it's kind of it's a cross between Harry Potter, High School Musical without the musical bits, but obviously for a slightly older crowd. Nice. So if you've watched anything like, what's the other one that my missus has watched before as well, like something about fairy tales or something like that. Oh, what's that called? Somebody will tell me in the chat. Like,
fairy tales.
It's basically it's a TV show that's got like a lot of fairy tale characters in it. But like it's it's a bit more of a like a drama type thing, really. Like it's somebody will tell me. Yeah, I'm just waiting for it to catch up now. Barry said I could never get the eyes on my Hellboy. Show us how it's done, Andy. Yeah, don't. There you go. That one looks slightly bigger at the minute. I need to tidy that one up. He's either that or he's winking. One or two. Once upon a time, says Christian. That was it. That was it, mate. My wife used it. That's what it reminds me of. I never watched that. My wife did, but it kind of reminds me of that. So, yeah. So we're watching this Magicians at the minute, and it's tolerable, shall we say? But we're also watching what's it, Tiger King as well on Netflix.
Yeah, I think I'll end up watching that.
After everybody recommending it, I thought I'd better try it and see what it's like. It's bizarre, but it's like it's car crash TV. You can't turn it off.
Right. I'll have to have a watch just to see what the fuss is about, really.
Yeah, because I'm not really an animal person. Like it's like I'm not really like I've never really had pets and stuff like that. And I was thinking, I don't really want to watch something about tigers, but it's nothing to do with tigers. It just so happens this guy like it's about people who like own big cats, and the Tiger King guy basically has he's got the biggest like private zoo in America or something like that. He's got like something like 200 tigers and like lions and stuff like that. But like there's like real rivalry between all these kind of like animal sanctuaries and tiger parks and stuff like that, to the point where like it's almost like a political smear campaign of like reporting each other to Peter and all this kind of stuff. And then there's a woman whose husband's basically disappeared. Nobody knows what's happened to her, and the rumours is she's fed him to the tigers, so they would never find his body. And it's like it's more about the people, like and they just happen to have animals. But and it's a true story as well. It's like a documentary thing.
All right.
So
Sounds
basically,
bizarre, like.
So the guy that made the documentary was basically like following these people around the US, like who were selling like exotic pets, like really weird, like cobras and stuff like that.
Right.
And while he's at this kind of pet shop, while he's buying these, like watching these people buying these things, this guy turns up to buy this kind of cobra or something, takes it out to his van, and inside the van he's got like a tiger. Like just
in there.
Yeah, and the guy's like, "Why the hell have you got like a tiger?" Oh, he's got a Siberian tiger in Florida, like locked up in the back of this like roasting hot van. And the guy's going to him, "Should you really have like a Siberian tiger in there?" And he's going, "Oh well, he'll get used to it," kind of thing. So then he decides that as part of this documentary, he's going to start exploring this thing about big cats and stuff as well. And that's when he starts finding out all these like really weird folks that like it's like there's a whole subculture of like big cat owners around America.
Aye, there's a whole load of subcultures with weird folks in the States. Like, no offence to anybody from the States.
There's a lot in the UK, to be
fair. Yeah. Are we not part of one of those, by the way?
We probably are, to be fair. Christian says he found just before Luke Pryor's just put in capital letters Carol Baskin. There you go. That just if you watch the Tiger King, you'll know exactly why you're seeing a lot of Carol Baskin memes at the minute. Christian said he found Magicians to be really slow. Haven't watched it again since the first series ended. We're probably halfway through the first series, I think, at the minute. It's kind of the thing that we put on, watch it intently for about 10 minutes, and then very slyly over time both pick up our phones and just, it's on in the background. Scott and Marco was both saying watch The Boys. I watched that when it first came out, mate. I absolutely loved it. The second series is due any minute, I think. Next month it might be. I'm really looking forward to The Boys coming back. I'd also read some of the graphic novels, the comic books years ago as well. So,
what's that one about, The Boys?
The Boys is essentially it's a superhero TV show, okay. But essentially, so superheroes are real, and they basically kind of like they protect people, but they work for this kind of organisation, which is basically like a massive PR campaign and marketing campaign. So they make like sort of vast sums of money from these superheroes. But they're all a bit dodgy. So basically, they're doing dodgy stuff in the background behind what's really going on, and it's really, really good. It's a bit dark in places, and there's plenty of bad language. I wouldn't watch it with the kids. It's not that kind of superheroes, but yeah, it's really good. John Francis saying Tales from the Loop. I've just seen that. Somebody mentioned that at the weekend as well, and I've just watched the trailer for it the other night, just to see what it was about. It looks really, really good actually. So I'm looking forward to watching that. Scott's saying he watches SEAL Team. What is it? I've been watching SWAT as well on Netflix, on Amazon, sorry, which is basically like, you know, there's an old SWAT TV show from like the 70s or something, and then there was a film years ago which has got
Is it Sam Jackson, that one? Or Denzel Washington?
Sam Jackson is in it, I think, and there's the Irish actor, what's he called?
Yeah, Colin Farrell.
That's him. He's in it. But so there's a new version of that, like a TV show about it. So
It's not them two though, is it? Surely?
no, it's not. No, it's a load of people I've never seen anything else before. But actually, it's all right. It's not bad. Tony's saying he would love miniature game of the boys. No, that would be awesome, mate. Yeah, you'd get some really good characters in that. Well, folks, I'm calling that one done for now, and I'm just going to pick up another model and start. He looks like he's got a bit of a 6 o'clock shadow, but I think it's just the way the light's hitting his chin there. Actually, I'm going to lighten the chin up a little bit because it'll look like that in the game.
Nice. Very nice, mate. Good job.
I'm quite happy with that, mate. That'll do me. Yeah.
Are you looking for another red or blue model to paint though now? Is that what you?
Well, I'm going to go completely mad. I'm going to paint one of the frogmen and go green. Just completely screw with my colour palette now.
That's my mum's least favourite colour. There you go. Fun facts.
Fun facts, folks. Yeah, so let's paint one of. So these are the frog monsters. I'm not a big fan of the models, if I'm honest. So this will probably speed up my painting because they're a weird looking thing. I can't even tell what's clothes and what's horrible flesh on some of these. They're a bit soft in the sculpt in some of these. Yeah. Even my camera won't focus. Yeah.
Looks like a mummy.
It's a bit like there's not a lot of detail in the face, sadly, but it's a board game job. Let's have a look. Try the wash. Scott's saying you should try the wash on the orc. The chat I completely just. Oh, we're well off the chat here. VJ saying Carol Baskin killed her husband. I hope that's not a spoiler, mate. I'm not all the way through the season now.
Oh dear.
Marco says the graphic novels are amazing, but definitely R-rated. Yes, they are, mate. They are 100% R. Barry says Tiger King's definitely a train wreck TV. I quite like that though sometimes. VJ saying his wife and him has been catching up on Law and Order SVU.
Yeah, my missus is obsessed with that sort of stuff. Yeah. She watches CSI and SVU repeatedly.
Scott saying the boys miniatures game will be class. Yeah. Christian saying SEAL Team's great, but they've heard it's cancelled after the 3rd series. SWAT's also good. Barry saying the boys was awesome. Elizabeth Shue, boyhood crush right there. Yeah, I remember Elizabeth Shue from Back to the Future 2 and 3. And she
was that the blonde lass?
Yeah, she played his girlfriend. She wasn't the one from the original film, but she played the part in the 2nd and 3rd one. And she was also in Adventures in Babysitting as well, I seem to remember. There you go. Paul says, looks great, Andy, much better than Al's.
Hey, not having that, like.
Tony saying...
Me and Paul are going to fall out. Again.
Marco says, did you shade Hellboy's right arm with purple? I didn't, mate, but I did use a different colour. I didn't highlight it up as far as I highlighted up his skin. So I've kind of kept it dark, because apparently I always thought it was part of his skin, but every painting tutorial I'd seen when I was looking on tips, basically every picture I've seen has got his right fist of doom is a bit darker.
You'll need to unlock your iPhone.
There's my Siri chatting away at me there in the background. Marco saying, do the turkey. I haven't got it primed, mate. I've just got the Frog Monsters primed in front of me at the minute.
Whoa, there's a turkey.
There's a turkey in it, mate.
Nice.
Where are we at? Luke saying, just posted in the Facebook group that Zeus I am considering finished. I look forward to seeing it, Luke. I'll check it after the stream. John Francis, boyhood crush. Sally James, Tiz was. My boyhood crush. My boyhood crush was Wendy James from Transvision Vamp. That's going to divide the chat now. Let's see.
What is that?
So exactly. That's why it'll divide the chat. There'll be the people that go, "Oh yes," and there'll be people that go, "Who?" So we'll see. We'll give it 30 seconds, and we'll see how the chat splits now. There'll be those
I'm on
of
Team Who. So
there'll be people of my age going, "Yes, Wendy James," and then there'll be people going, "What the hell?"
I'm just having a look at Luke Pryor's Zeus. That's pretty awesome, man.
Is it nice? I'm not.
Yeah, really good.
I'll have to dive in and have a quick look now as well. Let me have a.
It's got a nice little patina going on and stuff. I love it.
Adam says she wasn't in Back to the Future 2. I'm pretty sure she was, mate. If you check, she was his girlfriend. Mark says she was lovely. They are marks on my wavelength. VJ says yes, she wasn't too bad. Tim Kelly, hell yes. See, Claudio says I think I can't relate to anything you've talked since 1.5 hours ago, but interesting nevertheless. New worlds have opened up, but since I'm 1 hour ahead, I fear I have to call it a day now. Yeah, it'll be past midnight for you, mate. Thank you very much, Claudio. We'll catch you again soon.
Yeah, see you later.
VJ says he wouldn't kick her out of bed. Scott says Scully from the X-Files. See, that's way too much later for me. I was older by then, I think. John France, sorry. Busey saying Hook and Hellboy minis are easier to get back in the box than Walking Dead. They are, mate, and I've taken pictures. Peter Nicholas is saying Wendy James, oh yes. John France, Wendy James, oh yes, but she talked like she drank whiskey like water. Yeah, I think she was a bit of a boozer by the looks of it. Rob Salter says you can use Heroes Among Us rules to play the boys. Ooh. Christian says she hasn't aged well. Yeah, I didn't say she was my crush now. I've not looked her up to see how she looks these days. But to be fair, I don't look like I used to look when she looked good. Jennifer Connelly was mine. That career opportunities poster. Jennifer Connelly was the one that was
Jennifer Connelly.
She was in Labyrinth, wasn't she?
Ah, right. Yeah. My missus loves that movie.
Labyrinth is amazing. I played the David Bowie song, that dance. What's it called? Dance Magic Dance. I played it for the little one at the weekend, just so we could hear it and watch the little goblins dancing around.
So my missus has his Funko, the David Bowie Funko.
Yeah. The Goblin King.
Yeah, it's cool.
Luke, that Zeus is fantastic, mate. Love it. I like the verdigris on the shield as well on the back. Really nice. Nice work, man. Put me to shame, you know. Right, folks. I didn't realise it's 11:10. So,
oh dear.
So I'm probably not going to start this frog monster now. John France says Mantic are selling the Labyrinth board game. Yeah, it's by Riverhorse. And
that's interesting.
So they're selling some of the Riverhorse stuff in their shop at the minute. So yeah, I think the Riverhorse, who also do the My Little Pony RPG.
But that's ridiculous, just even as a concept. It's ridiculous.
It's meant to be very, very good, actually,
yeah.
if you're into that stuff.
I'm sure it will be.
Busey's saying this mini looks like Andy too. I think he's taking the mick about the frog monster there. Cheers there, Busey. You know you can just go off people really, really quickly.
Yeah, like me and Paul.
Yeah. VJ says it's almost as bad as Highlander. I actually think the Labyrinth game is all right, actually. But I've not played it. Christian's played it, I think. Marco says, good night, guys. Got to get up at 6. See you, Marco. Thank you very much for tuning in. Mark's in Michelle Pfeiffer in Lady Hawk. Yeah. Tiberius, his crush was Tina Turner in Thunderdome. I'm not. I can't stand the Simply the Best song, and I can't listen to any Tina Turner song without hearing Simply the Best in my head. You know, when there's that one song that, like, if you're at somebody's wedding do or at somebody's 60th birthday party and it comes on and you just go, oh no, I need to get out for some fresh air. Simply the Best is that song for me.
Yeah, that's my alarm in the morning.
Just for a bit of motivation, get you out of bed. Scott said he fancied the Highlander game but heard crap reviews of it. Scott, I've done a review of it, mate. Please watch it before you buy anything. Tony says Broken Toad are doing a line of Dark Crystal and Labyrinth minis soon. They look gorgeous. Riverhorse did some kind of 3-up versions of some of their Labyrinth minis as well, and they were really nice. And VJ says that's a rather unique taste in looks there. Yeah, Tina Turner in Thunderdome was definitely a unique look. That's it. And Tiberius said, I guess she was smoking hot and in chainmail frock. Fair enough. VJ says the minis in the Labyrinth board game aren't bad, but the gameplay is just really dull. Okay, mate. I've not played it, mate. But yeah, the minis are nice. And Pomsy says he can't hear Simply the Best without thinking of Chris Eubank. Yeah, that comes flooding back as well. That's something else I watched not long ago. So you know the Louis Theroux documentary things he does where he's like, when Louis met somebody or something.
Yeah.
He's got the one where he spent the weekend with
Chris Eubank.
With Chris Eubank, and I watched that not that long ago as well. It was quite interesting to kind of look back on it.
He's a character, isn't he?
Just a little bit, just a bit. Right, folks, I'm going to call it a night because it's like 11:15 now, and we've been going since 8:30. And poor Al's had to put up with me since about 8:10. So, thank you very much, everybody, folks. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you've had a good night. I hope anything you've painted, get the pictures up in the Facebook group so we can see them. I saw Marco had put up his model that he'd been doing as well. That was pretty cool, looking really, really good. Let's see what anybody else has put up as well, and let's have a look. Somebody wants to join the group. Let's have a look and see who wants to join the group.
Oh, nice.
Mark SG, who was in the chat tonight. Let's accept him into the fold. Approved. And let's see what people have been painting tonight as well.
That must have been because of my rendition of what do we call them?
Rick Astley.
Rick Astley, yeah.
That's exactly what it was, mate. It says here that I've gained 1,000 subscribers since you started saying that.
It's coming in there just for the Rick Astley.
Yeah, Marco was, I forget what the model's called now. It's a Dark Oath Chieftain, that's what it is. Yeah, really, really nice. The Zeus figures, awesome. Tony's been painting the watermill from Joan of Arc. He's going to use it in Brothers and Badgers. Do you know what it is, mate? I almost painted a Joan of Arc mini tonight. You know, one of the big monsters. I was going to paint one of those on stream tonight. Peter's been painting his Space Marine Captain tonight. Looks really nice. James Arms put in these pictures of not Troggoths, what they're called, the squig herders and stuff like that. Squigs with the yellow contrast, which actually looks really nice.
Yeah, it does look good, that.
Scott was putting his stuff in today for his Walking Dead stuff, which looked awesome. Nice to see some photos of what people have been up to tonight, folks. So,
very cool.
Yes, let's call it a night. Thank you very much, folks. Thanks, Al, for coming in tonight as well.
No worries, mate. Thank you for having us. It's been a pleasure.
No, it's cool. We'll have to do it again soon, mate.
Definitely.
Yeah, and we'll see you all, folks. Bye now.
Bye-bye.